Underwood is suing 36-year-old postal clerk Sheila Shells. Marceline claims Sheila's son, 14-year-old Jamal, smashed her son's glasses in a fight. Jamal says Justin was teasing him in class.
What's your first name?
Justin.
And yours?
Jamal.
This case is about some broken eyeglasses, and there was some sort of an altercation at school, and it is your claim that the defendant smashed your eyeglasses. Is that right?
Yes.
So why don't you tell me what happened?
We was having music, the sixth period of class, and it was free time. So I was joking around, laughing. I was with another boy. I was like, boys should not wear sunglasses because they look like... And I guess he was in my conversation listening. He happened to have on some sunglasses. So
Was he the only one who had sunglasses on at the time?
I don't really know. I don't think so, but...
What were you talking about sunglasses for? That seems to be like a sort of bizarre...
Because we was talking about each other, but he wasn't in the... and then...
No, I'm not finished with you, Justin. We're going to do this slowly. How many other boys were you talking to?
3.
Do you know their names?
Zachary, John, remember the other one?
Was Zachary wearing sunglasses?
No.
Was John wearing sunglasses?
No.
And this boy whose name you don't remember, was he wearing sunglasses?
No.
So you made a comment about boys wearing sunglasses?
Yes.
And then what happened?
He got up, and then I got up, and we started fighting.
Just a minute. He got up
and came over to me.
He got up and came over to you. And what did he say when he came over to you?
He just started swinging at me.
So he...
Yeah. And then I got up, we started fighting in the middle. Then that's when he knocked my glasses off. Then as he was moving back and forth, he was stepping on them. Then that's when the kids had to hold me back. The teacher tried to, but I guess he almost swung and hit the teacher.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 13-year-old Justin Underwood claims classmate 14-year-old Jamal Shells intentionally smashed his glasses. Jamal says Justin was teasing him.
Now it's your turn, Jamal.
Yes.
So you overheard this comment about sunglasses.
Yes.
You got mad?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went up to him?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you do?
I hit him in the face and knocked his glasses off.
And?
And then we continued fighting. He hit me in the face, and I kept swinging and pounding on him. And then, like a mob of kids, that were in the class, they came and broke it up. And
okay, good. How come you got so mad when he said something about your sunglasses?
Well, that was like 2-3 months ago, and we didn't really get along at the time because he talks a lot and he just gets on a lot of people's nerves.
But what'd you get up to hit him for?
Because he was doing it for a long time, so I just got tired of it.
What was he doing for a long time, Jamal?
He kept egging me on and messing with me.
Like what?
Calling me names in class while I was trying to do my work.
Like what?
Big head, meathead.
And that bothered you?
Yes, because he kept doing it. That's what he does, and I just didn't like it.
But you can't hit somebody because you don't like what they say.
I know, but...
That's not the way to resolve something, by going up and punching him in the face.
Right.
You knew that, right?
Yes.
So what'd you do it for?
Because I was tired of it.
Because you couldn't control yourself?
Yes.
Were you with other boys when he made this comment about the sunglasses?
No, I was sitting down playing cards with a friend of mine. That's when he started calling me with sunglasses and stuff. And I was the only one with sunglasses in the room, so...
Right?
Yes.
Okay, you see how honest he is? There you go. Why were you teasing him?
First, I was not teasing him.
You sure you were teasing him?
He was in my conversation. He should
No, Justin. He may not have been in your conversation, but you were talking to 3 other boys. He was the only one in the class wearing sunglasses. And you made a comment that you knew would be irritating to him. Why?
I don't know.
You didn't think it would make him feel better, did you?
Because we do this we talk about each other all the time.
Well, does he ever talk about you?
Yes.
How?
Fat lion, old fat lion. That's his favorite word. He always would say that.
To who?
Me, in class.
Did you ever call him an old fat lion? Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so you called him an old fat lion. And did he ever hit you?
No.
All right. So, Jamal, that was the wrong thing to do, to hit him.
Yes.
It's the wrong thing to do, to tease. But I gather you tease too. You just don't think that your talk is teasing. You tease each other. right?
Yes.
Now, but for the fact that you punched him in the face, his eyeglasses wouldn't have fallen off, right?
Right.
Then you're responsible.
Yes.
Perfect. So what's the problem? Now I'm talking to your mother. Why didn't you pay for the glasses?
Because I didn't hit Justin in the face.
No, but your son did.
Yes, he did.
Now, as between you and Miss Underwood, he's your responsibility. He's her responsibility. But somebody's going to pay for the glasses. Why should it be the mother whose son did not knock the glasses off as opposed to the mother whose son did?
Because the glasses simply fell to the floor. And from
didn't you
my
hear-
understanding,
Yeah.
the other children, this is what Jamal told me. Another child picked the glasses up and threw the glasses.
Okay, so let's get it straight now.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
What happened?
Even if it's so that that happened, your son was smart enough to just acknowledge to me that but for the fact that he hit him in the face, the glasses would not have fallen off. And they would not have gotten broken, however they got broken. Let me see a bill for the glasses. Where are your glasses? Where are the new ones?
I didn't purchase any new ones.
Why not? Why not?
Well, I was going to wait and see what happened, and I was going to get him some
When did this happen?
in February.
Are you telling me that your child has been without glasses since February?
No, he was using his old pair.
But that's not the right prescription.
That's correct.
Well, that's outrageous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $211. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
All I wanted to show her was that she should be responsible for what her son does.
I wasn't going to pay until maybe something like this happened. So I was forced to.
He was suspended for 3 days in school and came home with one lens.
The principal at the school called to tell me that Jamal had been suspended for fighting.
5-year-old nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd is suing 40-year-old contractor Dell Lindquist for assaulting him outside a bar. Dell says Scott was harassing his girlfriend, and he put a stop to it.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 59 on the calendar in the matter of Ladd versus Lindquist. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Ladd, according to what I've read, sir, you went into a tavern and you had half a dozen beers, maybe 4 or 5, ordered a large pizza to go, and as you were exiting the tavern, there was some sort of an altercation with the defendant. Then you claim outside he assaulted you seriously. Is that right?
That's correct.
His ultimate defense is there was some sort of a verbal altercation. You bet him $20 that you could whip his butt, and you did. That's your defense. So that it was a fair fight outside. That's your defense.
It was a
That you won the bet.
No, I haven't been paid.
That was cute, Mr. Lindquist. We'll see. All right, Mr. Ladd, had you ever seen this gentleman before?
Just as a patron of the bar,
What time did you arrive at the bar?
approximately 7 o'clock,
And what time did this assault take place?
9:30.
So you were there for about 2.5 hours.
That's correct.
So what happened when they give you your pizza, you pay your tab, and you start to walk out?
Well, it's very busy as I'm going through the crowd. Supposedly, I bumped in to his girlfriend, which was sitting on a bar stool in the aisleway to go out the door. Supposedly, Mr. Lindquist confronted me about...
Not supposedly. Listen, stop with the supposedly. You tell me what you remember of that evening.
I remember
Did you,
Mr.
did you
Lindquist
remember
confronting
poking
me.
her with the box, with the pizza box?
I don't recall that because it was so busy. I probably bumped several people basically going through the crowd.
Okay.
There was a small aisleway to walk through.
What did he say to you?
I can't recall his exact words, but he confronted me about poking his girlfriend with the pizza box. He threatened me with ripping my throat out.
That's a threat. Go ahead.
At that point there, I exchanged words with him also. I told him to back off, and there was some adjectives that were basically said.
By you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you continue to leave?
At that point, yes, I did.
He hadn't put his hands on you at that point?
No.
You walk out the front door. How far did you get? Was there a parking lot outside?
I was parked on the far end. This is a strip mall.
And were you at your car when this assault took place?
No, I was walking down the sidewalk.
And tell me what you recall.
What I recall is being hit in the back of the head, very hard. I thought it was a beer bottle. I have a medical report.
Then what happened? I'll look at all your reports in a minute.
I was on the ground. The defendant was on top of me. He struck me several times in the side of the head. I put my hands up, tried to defend myself. That's when the individual basically bit on to my right finger. As the individual was biting me, with the pain and the shock and everything else, I was grabbing his face, trying to make him to stop.
But you were on the ground.
That is correct, with him
Go
on
ahead.
top of me.
Go ahead.
At that point, somebody, if I recall, yelled that the police are coming. The individual let go of my finger at that point and struck me several other times in the side of the head again and got up and ran into the bar.
What happened when the police arrived?
Because this was a bar brawl, from what they call it, they stated if I wanted to press charges on the incident. At first, I said, yes, I do. The individual, which was the officer, explained to me that because there was no witnesses and this was mutual combatant and their part of what they considered.
Why, had they interviewed the defendant?
Well, there was another police officer inside the restaurant interviewing him.
Okay, go ahead.
They stated that they would have to put us in detox for 72 hours.
Because you were drunk.
I was not drunk at the time. I have my witness which will state how much alcohol I consumed within the 2.5 hours to my body weight of 225 pounds at 6'2".
How many beers did you have?
I believe it was 4.
Okay.
The officer stated that to the fact that he would have to charge both of us with assault.
So that you decided not to proceed.
Because of the 72 hours, I am an instrumentation and control specialist in a nuclear generating power plant. I was scheduled to run certain tests. I could not afford not to be there.
So you decided not to press
That
charge.
is correct.
Okay. Can I see your medical reports, please?
Sure.
When did you go to the hospital?
My sister-in-law picked me up that night. These are my medical records. Would you like the expenses also now?
Not yet. Did you get any police reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to have them too, please. Thank you, Bert. Now I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Well, Mr. Ladd was walking out of the bar.
What time did you arrive at the bar?
9 p.m.
Your girlfriend was with you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked him, are you leaving so soon? And he had said yes, and unless Kathy will buy me a beer, as he had his pizza box and poked her in the back. And didn't like what he was doing, and I says for him to stop that. He made a foul-mouthed remark that I don't care to repeat.
Well, repeat it.
He said he effed her in the and not to worry about it.
Right.
And that's when I made the comment that I'll bet you 20 bucks that I'll take you outside and kick your butt. And he walked around the corner and stood where the waitresses stand and motioned me like, well, come on, are we going to do this? And I followed him around, and he walked down
Why did you do that? He's gone. He's leaving.
He's motioning me and egging me on, and he had bet me.
No. He didn't bet you. You bet him.
Well, he agreed to the bet.
Go ahead.
Got out the door, walked down he walked down at least 50 feet.
Right,
And
so
I'm
he's leaving.
He is leaving.
And his back is towards you.
No.
Well, his back has to be towards you, sir, unless he was walking backwards.
No, he was making remarks
His
as
back has to be towards you as he's walking, sir,
he
because...
was turned sideways.
So he's walking sideways, like
Walking
a crab.
sideways. Walking sideways, talking to me.
All right,
or
go ahead.
Saying bad words. He sets his pizza box down and invites me on, are we going to get this done? When we first came together, he reached out and he grabbed me by the face as we were standing face to face, shoulder to shoulder. And
You weren't
started,
standing shoulder to shoulder to him, with him.
No, I wasn't. But
No. You weren't standing shoulder to
square shoulder to shoulder, square shoulders to square
Right.
shoulders. Reached out, grabbed me by the face.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I just imagine that to be face to face.
Well,
Face to neck. Go ahead.
and he kind of grabbed my face to where I couldn't really get near him. We were going to fight. He grabbed inside my mouth and underneath my chin and started pulling me to the ground. And whether I bit him or he got cut on my teeth on the way down, I just happened to come out on top.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd says he was assaulted by Del Lindquist after exchanging words with him in a bar. Del says when Scott insulted his girlfriend, he beat him up.
Which one of you ladies was present during the course of this altercation?
I was.
Can you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Lisa.
Lisa what?
Lisa Tyson.
Ms. Tyson, do you work at the tavern?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do there?
I'm a bartender.
You know both of these gentlemen.
Yes, I do.
You ever had any difficulty with the plaintiff at the bar?
No, I haven't.
You ever had any problem with the defendant before at the bar?
Yes, I have. I've witnessed him making verbal remarks to other customers that would talk to his girlfriend.
Like what?
He told this other guy who was talking to his girlfriend that he wanted to rip his throat out.
He likes to say that. Clearly.
I guess. But then I immediately went over there and confronted the situation, and I warned Del that if he decided to fight in the bar or in the parking lot, he will be 86'd out of the bar for good.
Did you hear any interaction between the two of these gentlemen?
No, I didn't.
Did you wait on Mr. Ladd that evening?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how much alcohol he consumed?
He had about 4 beers.
Have a seat. Thank you very much. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear, sir?
Yes, I do. I'd like to have the manager of the bar step up.
Tell me your name.
Deb Miles.
Miss Miles, did you witness any part of this incident?
I was not outside. I did not see that. I was chatting with Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, and another gal.
This is girlfriend.
Right. Next thing I knew, a waitress from the dining room came out and said that there was a fight going on outside.
So you really didn't see anything?
I did not see that, no.
What did you want her to testify to?
I don't want to testify for her, but Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, knew nothing of this incident. She can support that claim for me.
Oh,
Just
a second. Did you ask her what they were doing outside?
I asked her if she knew they were outside.
And what did she say?
She said no. And then she wanted to go outside. And I said, no, you have to stay in here, Kathy. You've been drinking. Don't go out there. Just stay out of it.
Was she drunk?
She did quite a few, in my opinion. I didn't personally serve her, so I don't know for sure.
Did she say anything about anybody doing anything untoward to her that evening?
No, no. We were just chatting, and the next thing we knew, this fight was going on. So we didn't hear any argument, anything like that.
Step up. What's your last name?
Dubé.
What do you remember?
I didn't see nothing outside, but I do remember him walking by.
He walked by, and what happened?
He said to him, leaving so early, he said, yes, I've had too much to drink. I'm going to take my pizza and me home. Unless Kathy wants to buy me a drink, poke me in the back. And it was real crowded. And I was talking to the manager, Michelle, on the right hand of me, and Debbie was down a chair from me.
Right.
And then I just started talking to Michelle, and then all of a sudden I heard him telling him to quit poking me in the back. And then as he was walking away, that's when he said what he did to me.
Which was?
I don't want to say it.
Well, I'd like to hear what you
I just heard
him say.
It just,
Really? Well, that's a nasty thing to say.
Yeah.
Did you think he was drunk?
Yeah.
Were you drunk?
No, I probably had 3 beers.
3 beers in a half hour?
2?
Maybe 3?
I just got there.
Well, maybe 3 beers in a half hour. And what about Mr. Lindquist? What did he have to drink?
We probably had 2.
Maybe 3. Well, the officer indicates that both suspects were intoxicated, and the effects of alcohol was very obvious on both of them.
Can I make a comment related to that?
Sure.
After being struck in the head several times and with what I believe with a beer bottle.
Did you see a beer bottle, by the way, when this altercation was over?
I did not know.
Okay. So it's possible that you were just hit on the back of the head with a fist. It's possible.
That's possible.
Doesn't make any difference. The medical records indicate that you were injured that evening.
I don't want to interrupt you, but with the injury I sustained in my finger, and the shock and the trauma and everything that was going on, if the officer smelled alcohol on my breath, was establishing 4 beers over a 2.5-hour period.
Doesn't make any difference, sir. I have to believe, Mr. Ladd, that the defendant, without provocation, assaulted you, and without provocation, rendered you, because of your larger stature, rendered you sort of in a position where he could, in fact, assault you, which was somehow getting you to the ground, because you are a larger stature than he is, and that would be smart. Now, being smart would render you on the ground as a result of being either hit on the back of the head with a fist or with something else. Not the way Mr. Lindquist indicates, because the officer nowhere in his report, sir, indicates that you have any scratches or marks on your face. That's really surprising if this assault took place, Mr. Lindquist, the way you indicated.
I have a police report that states that I have scratches.
Let me see.
And I
Suspect 1 had minor scratches or scrapes on his face. Suspect 2 possessed open wounds on his fingers and a slight laceration to his forehead. Mr. Lindquist, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've had trouble with people talking to your girlfriend before in the bar, according to the bar people.
Yes, Your Honor.
So this isn't an unusual occurrence to you. If you don't want people to talk to your girlfriend, sir, keep her in your apartment. Because if you take her to a bar where people sometimes get a little high, a little happy, and they may say something either in a polite vein or in a seductive vein, or sometimes, according to you, totally inappropriate things. If I believe what you attribute to him, it was totally inappropriate. But the reaction, especially if you know or believe that someone is intoxicated, you believed he was intoxicated, right, Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes.
Then you just let it rest. Then I have to believe that he egged you on. Well, I don't believe that at all. I believe that the guy's taking his pizza and he's going home. He's out of there. You decided to follow him outside, which you did. And I believe that in order to get him in a vulnerable position, you hit him from behind.
In the forehead.
You hit him from behind. If you hit him from behind in the forehead, that's sort of like that. That doesn't happen, does it? You know, you
Only
sort
in
of,
the movies.
Only in the movies. Only if you have very long arms. So you assaulted him, and you hurt him, and you have to pay. Period. And if you can't hold your liquor, don't drink. What were your medical expenses, sir?
I have a report. I do have insurance.
What's your out-of-pocket?
My out-of-pocket is $526.44. They have me on prescriptions yet, anti-inflammatories, to try to still get the swelling down in my finger. At this point...
Can I see your finger, please? Step up. You still have no feeling in the finger?
The finger is totally numb to light touch. The medical report...
Step back.
I'm sorry.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Just a minute, he's not finished yet. Then you can add whatever you like.
Okay.
You still have no feeling in the tips of your finger.
That's correct. I have lost the movement to totally squeeze my fingers all together. The doctor last I seen said if the swelling goes down over time and with these prescriptions, that it may go back.
Okay. Yes, now you wanted to say something.
Well, if I would jump him from behind, isn't that assault and battery? Wouldn't, you know, if I'm walking out in the parking lot and somebody jumps me from behind and the police come, I think I'm going to make a report or have him arrested, you know, because people...
Sure, unless you're inside with the other police officer who you spoke to that evening. Is that right?
Yes.
And I assume you gave him the same cock and bull story you gave me. The way you indicated that you were standing shoulder to shoulder to him and he put his fingers in your face, and so that's how you bit his finger.
He set his pizza box down first.
What?
He set his pizza box down first. And if somebody got jumped from behind, don't you think there'd be pizza all over the place, too?
There might be. Where is there an indication that there wasn't? Where is there an indication
Wouldn't you think he'd want to be paid for his pizza, too?
Are you kidding me or what?
No, I'm not kidding you. I'd be mad if
You
somebody...
got a hot temper.
If somebody knocked me down from behind and knocked my $20 pizza on the ground at the same time, and the police showed up, I would definitely file some charges here.
Well, he wanted to file charges, sir, but you told the police that this was a fight, a barroom brawl, that he actually started with you. He actually put his hands on you first. That's what you told me.
That is
That you
correct.
turned around, shoulder to shoulder, after you followed him out of the bar, and he took his hand and put it in your face, and probably as a result of the heavy pushing, he fell on top of you, and that's how he ended up on the ground, and probably on the weight of you both going down and his finger in your mouth, that's how his finger got lacerated, requiring medical treatment and stitches. That's what you told me.
Yeah, I grabbed his
Judgment for the
finger.
plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
How a guy can lie and say that I jumped him from behind and get away from that.
That's not in my character at all to make a statement like that to any woman or anybody.
He said he was ready to go at it. There was no jumping from behind.
I'm 35 years old. I'm a professionally employed male. I'm in no position to basically risk my job.
I like to do things the old country way. You go out in the barn and you...
He's on Van versus Webb. Step forward, please.
Avid rollerblader Norm Van says while skating on the beach, he bumped into Henderson Webb's baby stroller. He's suing because Mr. Webb assaulted him, causing severe dental injuries.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 312 on the calendar in the matter of Van versus Webb. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Sir.
Mr. Van,
Yes, ma'am.
your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you by punching you in the mouth,
Correct.
something that he acknowledges he did.
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you tell me how this came about?
Okay. On 4th of July, my brother, his friend, Mr. Rohr, and I were skating northbound on a bicycle path heading towards Manhattan Beach Pier. When we reached the...
Rollerblading.
Yes, rollerblading. And as we reached the 2600 section of the Strand, the Hermosa Beach Police Department were breaking up a party, and so it became very congested, and they rerouted the direction of the people that were on the path heading north to head back south again. So at that time, we complied with the police officers, and we started to head south.
So they were making him make a U-turn.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it came to a standstill. And so a person behind me had a bicycle, and they accidentally tripped me, and I accidentally fell on top of the Webb's baby stroller. As soon as I fell on top of the...
Okay, so you were walking with your wife,
Correct.
and you had your baby in the stroller.
We had the baby in a baby jogger.
What's a baby jogger?
It's like a stroller, a little bit different, designed for really running with the child.
One of
But-
those long, pointy things that
Exactly.
I've seen? Okay. So it's got 3 wheels?
Exactly.
Gotcha. Go.
As soon as I fell on top of the baby stroller accidentally, Mr. Webb immediately pulled me off the stroller, and before I had an opportunity to apologize to him, he became belligerent and started yelling and screaming at me and using profanity. And so since he refused to listen to me, I raised my tone of voice to the level of his and said, "What the hell are you talking about? It was an accident," because he even had the audacity to accuse me of deliberately endangering his child. And the whole time that he
Your
was...
Honor.
Could get to you.
During this whole time, he was more interested in...
Don't tell me what he was
okay.
interested in.
He
Just
was-
tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
Well, I can't recall everything that he said to me, just that he was screaming, yelling, and he was using profanity at me, and he deliberately accused me of endangering his child by falling on top of the baby stroller.
Okay.
So after we exchanged words, I then attempted to proceed to leave, and at that point in time, Mrs. Webb then confronted me, and she started to do the same thing that her husband did.
Just tell me what she said.
Oh, I can't recall the exact words, Your Honor, so I don't want to guess at it. But she, too, was, yelling, screaming, using profanity against me. And at that point in time, I became upset, and I told her that she was an unreasonable for not allowing me an opportunity to apologize or to look at the situation that it was accidental, and I had no intentions of hurting their child. So
You didn't say all that. You just called her an unreasonable beep.
Exactly.
Okay.
So at that time, I attempted to leave again, and after I left, Mr. Webb then pursued me and cut me off from leaving, and he attempted to pick a fight with me. He was yelling at me, saying that I cannot call his wife a So I wouldn't allow myself to get in an altercation with him because there was no reason. It wasn't for self-defense. In addition to that, there were several police officers behind us. So he then placed his right hand on my chest, on my left side of the chest, attempting to further provoke me to a fight. And I still refused to engage in a fight. So,
Your Honor, that's... Okay.
So I then warned Mr. Webb several times to remove his hand from my chest. And when he didn't do it immediately, so that's why I had to do it several times. When he finally removed his hand from his chest, as soon as he put his hand down, he then attacked me and punched me in the mouth. Immediately, his hand came down. And that's when I fell backwards, hitting my head on the ground. And when I tried to get back to my feet again, I got onto my knees. Then Mr. Webb then jumped on top of my back. And when a deranged manner was yelling, "You can't call my wife," and he kept on pushing my head towards the ground while he was on top of me. Afterwards, my brother intervened, and then a police officer came by, and when I realized that I was injured from the bleeding...
Where were you bleeding from?
From my lip. My lip became lacerated from the punch, and I then charged Mr. Webb with citizen's arrest and told a police officer who was standing close by of my charge.
Okay. You had some medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
What were the medical bills?
The medical bills were for the oral surgery, for my tooth to be put a crown put on it, and the actual crown price.
How much?
That came out to, excuse me, and also the emergency room bills as well. And that came out to approximately $901. And in addition to that, my one tooth was shattered, another tooth is cracked, and that tooth has not died yet. So the dentist wants to wait until the tooth does die, and so I have an estimate of that, which is $1,275.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Teach children from a very early age to use their words. I say that to toddlers. Use your words, don't use your fists. And you didn't. You did it because you got hot.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Norm Van says after bumping into Henderson Webb's baby stroller while rollerblading, Mr. Webb assaulted him, causing dental injuries. Mr. Webb claims he hit Norm in self-defense.
All right, Mr. Webb, now let's hear your version of what happened, sir.
Okay. I think that was a very creative version that you just heard.
Mr. Webb, just let me hear your version of what happened.
My wife and I left 4th of July midday to walk down the Strand with our daughter Haley in the baby jogger. When we approached the 26th Street intersection, there was a huge crowd and that you're just kind of instantly enveloped in. Virtually nobody was moving, maybe at just a very small shuffle. People were going every which direction. I was going northbound on the Strand with the stroller at a little bit of an angle there. When kind of out of my peripheral vision, I saw some movement, and before anything else, I felt a strong hit against me and down on the jogger. And that was Norm Van. I looked down, he was full body, full weight, impacted upon the jogger. I started trying to help him up, and I said something to the nature of, get up, get off, watch where you're going. He was immediately very indignant with me as far as profanities. I learned some that day. He got off on me and said a lot of things in my face about I'm a effing this, don't touch me, it's not my fault, get your hands off of me, etc. But it was one of those things. I was terrified, obviously. My wife was more petrified than I was. At that point, I looked under the baby jogger has a canopy on it. Haley was crying and bawling. Wasn't really the place to get her out and find out how she was. Stepped back behind the jogger.
But she was fine.
She didn't have any visible damage.
She was fine.
Correct. Stepped back behind the jogger to resume our snail's pace, so to speak. My wife's still behind me when the next thing I heard was him going off on twice the tirade with my wife. And, at a distance of like that from her face. He called her B-I-T-C-H, but that was the nicest word he called her. We all felt threatened, I think. We had no place to go. We were in a very small space. I kind of put my hand between them. I never once touched Norm Van until I actually hit him. I kind of stepped in front of my wife and in front of Norm Van so that they were behind me. And he continued to be very threatening, very belligerent, indignant, coming at me this way. I thought for sure he was going to attack me. I've got my wife and child behind me, and I did hit him in the mouth. He never hit the ground, number one. He kind of squatted or kneeled. I got behind him and put my arms around him and locked my hands to contain him. I never tried to hit his head on the cement. I did one, I hit him once, and that's all that happened. Okay? Held him, contained him. He started screaming, "I'm going to sue you, citizen's arrest." I took a few steps back, and then he started coming at me again. And I said to him 3 or 4 times, "Stay away, stay back." I couldn't understand why he was stepping towards me again. He was pointing his finger saying, "I want you to get arrested, you're in trouble," and I said, "Stay away," because I didn't know why he was coming at me again. I thought he could attack me.
What do you mean you didn't know why, sir? You would hit him in the mouth.
Well, I figured he was going to attack me.
You know, what you figured.
Right, I felt threatened by him.
You hit him in the mouth.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Webb, you know, I've walked many a stroller, and I've had footballs come into the stroller, and people, it's other times, you know, throwing a can out of a car that almost misses the stroller by that much. You know, has that ever happened to you, Bert?
Sure, Judge. 4 kids.
Yeah. So you know what you want to do to the person who threw their soda can out of a window that almost hits your baby? You want to kill him. That's the immediate reaction.
I agree, but I think that's a little different circumstances than we faced.
Well, I'm not so sure, Mr. Webb. What I'm talking about is the maternal or paternal instinct when something, anything, threatens your child. The adrenaline starts to pump. And you don't want to hear anything about accident, because those kind of accidents aren't supposed to happen. I mean, when you say to me, "I tried to help him off the carriage."
Absolutely.
Well, you weren't helping him. You were getting him off there as fast as you could so you could check on your baby. You just wanted to get him off. If you could have used a stick of TNT, it wouldn't have made any difference whether he was okay or not. You wanted to get a look and see whether your baby was hurt. Mr. Webb, that's totally understandable, sir.
Well, I was understanding enough to realize once he was up that could be over. That's why I stepped behind the baby jogger again to proceed at whatever pace I could to get away from Mr. Van.
But he didn't hit you, you hit him.
Correct. I hit him because I had no place to go, and he was posing immediate threat to my wife and my child.
No, I don't think so, sir. He was using his words. You lost your temper. You got angry because he said something to your wife, and there's no question in my mind that if I called your wife up here, she would say that she didn't say anything to him. Is that right? Did you say anything to him?
Oh, yeah, I asked him to, just move away and get away from the stroller, because after the confrontation had happened, between my husband and Mr. Van, he didn't just go on his way. He was, this far away from both of our faces, just telling us that, it's not his fault, and, F this and F that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did either of you say to him, "I know it was an accident, just as that everything's okay now"?
I said, move on. Let's forget about this. It's over. And that's why I tried to go northbound. He was engaging my wife at that time.
Had your wife said anything to him before he was engaging you? Did you say to him, no? I don't necessarily believe that, Miss Webb. I don't say that because it's not common sense. You're a mother, your baby's in the stroller, I can imagine you broke out in an immediate sweat when you saw this body, this huge body over your baby. And you're trying to stand there and tell me that you were behaving in a calm...
No, we're not. We were both petrified, as our statements will both say.
Mr. Webb, unfortunately, we don't have candid cameras all around the place so that you can view what your reaction was when he fell on your baby.
Right.
Because what you're suggesting to me is your actions were wholly appropriate and consistent with a very moderate tone and a very moderate reaction to an accident. And I guarantee you, sir, it belies common sense to suggest that you were that kind of calm. And your wife was that kind of calm. Okay. So you hit him. You got to pay for his damage. No question about that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That's pathetic that you would even lie right here. That
No,
is
no,
just
it's pathetic that you would even lie about lying.
I think it's
That's what's
pathetic that you
Lie
didn't
about
protect your
lying.
brother.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rollerblader Norm Van says Henderson Webb assaulted him after bumping into his baby stroller. Mr. Webb says he hit him in self-defense.
Now, I want you to look at these things, sir.
Your Honor, can I make one last quick statement?
Sure.
The fact that the police officers did not arrest me or do anything but take a report, combined with the fact that the first communication I got from Mr. Norm Van was via a lawyer named Daniel Lieb, led me to believe that there wasn't a lot of belief from the standpoint of the police officers that this was something they wanted to pursue, and that it was something that Norm Van merely wanted to get money out of from a precarious situation. And that's why I received a letter asking if I had a certain type of insurance to find out how much, coverage or what kind of a plaintiff's win they could get out of this.
Well, Mr. Webb, let me address your first question first, sir. The fact that the police took the information with regard to this case and decided that they weren't going to, at that moment, separate you from your wife and your baby, placing you in handcuffs and taking you off to the pokey, showed good judgment on the part of the police. I mean, they clearly understood that there had been an accident that could have been dangerous, that you overreacted to that, but that didn't rise to the level of somebody who was a dangerous person walking around the street. Certainly, unless somebody else fell on your baby carriage, this wasn't going to happen again. So the police exercised good judgment. They do not necessarily have to arrest everyone. To address your second point, if you got a letter from a lawyer that says, what kind of coverage do you have, because he wants to be reimbursed for whatever his out-of-pocket medical expenses were as a result of you punching him in the mouth, I think that that's wholly appropriate.
Why wouldn't you go to small claims court right off the bat instead of trying to find out how much money he could possibly take advantage of?
Why would he want to do that? People aren't supposed to abuse the court system if they can resolve things without going to court. If they can resolve things without going to court, why would you want to spend a day in court, have to go down there, maybe spend 2 days? Why would you want to do that? That's wholly appropriate, sir. People encourage that. That's why we have mediation services that are blossoming throughout this country to relieve an overburdened court system with cases that really shouldn't be in court. People accepting responsibility for things that they do and saying, all right, I'll pay what I can. I don't find anything inappropriate about that. Now, Mr. Van,
yes, ma'am.
I want you to look at these bills that you've just presented to me, and I want you to tell me exactly what your out-of-pocket expenses were, sir, that were not covered by insurance. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am. That's $901.35.
Okay, because the rest was covered by your insurance.
Correct.
Okay.
In addition to that is the estimate to do the additional work for my other tooth, which is injured but hasn't died yet, which is $1,275.
And that was a result of this incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Van, see, so far I've given it to these people because I think that Mr. Webb was wrong to punch you in the face. And I believe that what happened with the baby was an accident. Right? You also seem like, the kind of guy who should understand that they were really upset. Do you have children?
No, ma'am.
Well, if you have children, you'll come to understand that something happens to a baby of yours, all of those protective juices start to flow. So the fact that Mrs. Webb, and I do believe she opened up her mouth to you, it was probably not the right thing to do to respond to it the way you did, verbally. You could have just kept walking away from her and just ignored her, because she was hot, because her baby was, for that moment, at risk. Do you understand?
Agreed.
You got to use your noodle.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Webb, you behaved unreasonably because you hit him. You can walk around that every which way, but you behaved wrongly because we teach children from a very early age to use their words. You say that to toddlers. Use your words. Don't use your fists. Don't be physical. Use your words. And you didn't. You didn't because you got hot. And I understand why you got hot, but you got to pay for it. All right? Your total expenses come to about $2,200.
That's correct.
A little bit less, but it's about $2,200. And you're suing the defendant for $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you're entitled to that. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Like I said, I jumped behind the jogger to just get out of harm's way, get out of the situation. And when he re-engaged my wife, I realized I couldn't count on his state of mind.
Why did you say on the subpoena that the only reason that it says, why did you not ask Mr. and Mrs. Webb for the money? You know what you said? Because Mrs. Webb told me to suit them. Learn your English.
And that's exactly what you said.
Oh, I told you to sue us?
My brother's a witness on that one. Imagine me trying to collect my money, which is just due to me, according to Judge Judy, from the Webb couple. Can you imagine how difficult that must be? That is the reason why that I wanted to work through the insurance company, because they would be more civilized and much easier to deal with than the Webb couple.
31-year-old Frank Stimson for assault. Carolyn alleges she suffered injuries after Frank hit her during a traffic dispute. He says she kicked him first.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Now, this is case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Oshrin versus Stimson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am, sir.
All right, this case involves a traffic dispute. Miss Oshrin, you look like an otherwise intelligent lady. Got yourself involved with this dispute. You want to tell me about it, please?
It was Saturday night, and I was going to get dinner for my husband. I was waiting at a left-hand turn on Sherman Way, which is a busy street.
What kind of a car were you driving?
I was driving a rental car. It was a little Mercury Mystique, I believe. And I was sitting there waiting for traffic to go. There was 2 more cars that needed to go by. It was a little distance between, but not enough. And while I was sitting there, another car came up and started blaring on the horn at me. Didn't let off, so I waited, made my turn. The car tailgated me and followed me into the parking lot where I was going, which was another left in there. And so I turned down the first row of cars, you know, trying to go where I needed to go and get out of the way. And started to go towards the right, and car, you know, kind of punched it a little bit to the right, so I just stopped, figuring, go around me. I'm not moving. And I had a dog.
And it was the same car that had been
blowing
blowing
it was the same one
the
tailgating
horn.
me.
What kind of car was that?
Well, I couldn't tell until it was later, and it was a '81 Toyota truck.
Truck.
Little pickup. It was small.
Driver. Go.
And so anyway, then when I stopped, I had a dog in the car that I was trying to adopt. And so I checked on the dog, just because she's nervous anyway. And when I looked up, there was, you know, the defendant was walking down towards me, you know, towards my car. So I locked the door, and he came up, kneeled down, and told me I got my license from a Cracker Jack box. And so he kneeled there for a second, paused, he got up, and leaned forward and spit through the crack I had in my window, in my face. So, and then he turned around and walked back, and I got out to get his license plate. His car was parked like maybe an inch off of mine, and what I could see, there was no plate. So I started to walk back, and when I started to walk, he turned around again, and so I yelled at him for spitting in my face, and he turned around and we ended up in a kicking fight. He started kicking me, so I kicked him back, and finally I just, you know, I didn't kick it, but I pushed the door with my foot, which, because it was at an angle and he was on one side, and it pushed him back into the truck. So I went back to my car, and as I was walking back to the car, he came up and grabbed me by the shoulder and kind of pushed me and started to beat up the car, tried kicking my car. Then he turned around and came at me again. So, and, you know, he ended up spitting in my face. So I was holding him back because he was walking at me. And by the time we kind of did like a circle and came back by the car, and the car was on the side of me. So I was, you know, while I'm holding him back, there was a girl that came walking down from the other side, you know, quickly at us. So I glanced at her, and when I glanced at her, he hit me in the jaw. So.
And then what happened?
Well, my head went that way, and then I turned around and I ducked. And when I did that, I ended up ripping his shirt because I was still holding. And somebody grabbed my arm, you know, for the other direction. So I went that way, and when I looked up, he had 4 or 5 people holding him back. So I went back again to try to get the license plate, and I guess they let him go because I was probably about halfway down there, and he came back and he started pushing me, and I walked like a big circle to the back. And finally got the plate, you know, and he turned around and laughed once he realized, I guess, what I got.
All right. What kind of medical costs did you have?
I've got chiropractic and for my my jaw. It was actually, it's a specialist. He went through 2 referrals to get to it. He wants, together they're like 44, 60 something, 64 right now. Here's another one. This goes with it. That's all, everything. The bill's right behind it.
I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay.
The first one that comes to my mind, as a woman, if some nut comes up to your car and you know that he's been tailgating you, and I don't think that there's any question that he was tailing you, because I read your complaint and I read his answer. So common sense suggests to me he was annoyed, honking his horn. You live in California? It's surprising. People in California don't blow their horns a lot. You know, people in New York blow their horns if you know, delayed a split second. Here, everybody sort of hangs out and gives you a chance. I found the drivers here very polite. So, where are you from?
California.
Well, you didn't learn the rules, sir. The rules are you're not supposed to honk your horn.
I beeped my horn briefly. I did not lay on the horn.
I didn't say lay on the horn. I said honk your horn. You honked your horn.
Yes, I did. If someone sits at a green light with no oncoming cars for a good 10 to 15 seconds, they either have car problems or they're just ignorant.
Well, maybe she had car problems.
She obviously didn't.
I'll get to you in a minute. This is going to be interesting. I'm not finished with you yet because I'm trying to figure out whether you have all your screws.
Okay.
He comes up to your car, says something that is, it's aggressive. It's aggressive because he stopped his car, he's gotten out of his car, he's approached your car, and you don't know whether he's a nut, right? Somebody dangerous, or just a flake, right? You have your window open a little bit. According to you, he spits in your face. And you get out of the car?
Yeah, I did.
Who are you?
I'm Dan Moran. I witnessed what happened that night.
Wonderful. Perfect. You would agree with me, Mr. Moran, that that's pretty stupid.
That was my first question.
Perfect. For that, you don't have an answer.
No. Well, I wanted his plate.
Your life is more important than his license plate.
True.
And then, after he's put his hands on you, after he struck you in the jaw, after all of that, you still wanted his plate.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to tell you something. Somebody spits at me, and you would have had a lot more than a couple of scratches on your body. A lot!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Carolyn Oshrin is suing 31-year-old Frank Stimson for assault during a traffic dispute. Frank admits he insulted Carolyn, but denies her allegations of assault.
Now your version.
I drove up to the light. She was at the light in front of me, a green light. No traffic was oncoming at that time. I waited for about 10 to 15 seconds. I beeped my horn briefly. She pulled forward approximately 5 to 10 feet and slammed on her brakes. I waited, kind of scratched my head and said, wow, what's that about? She pulled forward through the intersection after that, and when she got into the crosswalk on the other side, she slammed on her brakes again. I sat in the middle of the street with the car coming towards the passenger side of my car, and then the same thing happened again in the next driveway. She consistently tried to get me to rear-end her.
No, she wasn't. She was probably trying to irritate you. This lady, what do you think? She's a scam artist? She's trying to get you to rear-end her? No, she was trying to irritate you like you irritated her.
She's driving a rental car. She doesn't care about the car. She wants money. That's why we're here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me hear.
When we got in the parking lot, she moved along at a snail's pace.
Just a second. How many lanes are there in the parking lot?
There's one going forward and one going the opposite
So
way.
there's only one way that you could have gone? Is that what you're telling me? Because there's a witness here.
Yes, there's
only one lane that you can go to.
No, I was following her because I wanted to ask her why she was trying to get me to hit her.
That's right. So you were following her.
At that point, yes.
Okay. Why were you following her?
Why was I following her? Because
my
we were
question.
both happened to be going the same way at the time. I was going in to develop some film. I don't know why she pulled in the parking lot.
Just a second. You don't... Stupid isn't written here. You just told me that you were following her. That's what you told me. You could have avoided the confrontation by just going in a different direction. So, you stopped your truck, and you got out of your truck and you walked over to her side, to the driver's window. And what happened at the driver's window?
I had asked her if she got her driver's license out of a Cracker Jack box.
And she said?
She didn't say anything. She just stared at me and laughed.
And what did you do?
I laughed back. I told her that she was kind of a ridiculous driver, acting like a child, and she should go get a real driver's license.
Did you spit at her?
No, I did not.
Oh, I think you're lying.
I did not. I may have used lots of profanity, but I did not spit
Well,
at
you
her.
may have used lots of profanity.
I was kind of upset. Anytime someone tries to get rear-ended, something's wrong with them. I told
She
her
wasn't
what I
trying to
thought.
get rear-ended, sir.
She was. If you do this 5 to 6 times, slam on your brakes, that's not normal.
You know what's not normal? Not normal is looking for trouble. Now,
That's what she was doing.
No, listen to me. Yes. You started it. She continued it. Right?
Okay.
Is that right? You were annoyed that he honked his horn. Correct?
Yeah, I was annoyed.
So that when you got to the intersection, when you made your turn, and he was following you, you figured, I'm going to give him a little bit of agita. And you slowed down. Is that right?
I went slow because it wasn't far to turn.
Yeah. And you went slow because you knew that he was behind you. That's what happened. Right?
Yeah, but there's another lane there too, so...
I understand that. He could have gone around you.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. So you were being dumb.
Okay.
And he was being dumb. So, I don't think you would have gotten out of your car if he had not spit at you.
Nope.
Because there would have been no basis for her, sir, to try at that point to get your plate. None whatsoever. So I believe that you spit at her while using profanity. Now,
I used lots of profanity. I
step
did not
up here,
spit.
sir.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
know this lady?
No, I don't.
Do you know this gentleman?
No, I don't.
I'm going to settle this right now. Tell me what you saw.
When I was finished doing my shopping there in the center, I have a convertible car, so I saw everything. It was very unusual. They were making a left turn into the parking lot from Sherman Way into the driveway. It's a very short distance. I see these two cars come in, and the guy was no further than this far behind her, bumper, right on her butt, right on the bumper. He gets out, and at first I'm thinking, well, is this like from a movie? It's like, it was so surreal that, well, it must be a couple, they must be fighting, a domestic dispute, something like that. But what happened, this guy gets out of his car and starts screaming at her. She's got a little crack like that in the window. And I'm like, what is this? And he spits at her, puts a big old loogie on her. And I at first I said, well, when I saw her get out of the car, I thought, well, it must be a domestic thing. Hey, I got on the cell phone. I called the police right away. And then all of a sudden, there's 5 other guys on top of this dude trying to restrain him from beating her up. I don't blame her for jumping out of her car. This guy was totally out of control, very out of line. So,
see what happens? Sometimes you have an independent witness, sir.
He is not an independent witness.
Oh,
Nobody put their hands on me.
Just a
but
second.
Her.
Just a second.
I should be able to state the rest of my case.
I'm going to let you. I just want you to listen to him before you state the rest of your case.
How close
he
was
doesn't
he?
know. He doesn't know.
How can he see any of this?
He just told you. He was in his convertible car. He saw exactly how you came in. Is that right, sir?
the cars were no further than the edge of that table there.
Were you?
I was right to the right side of it. So I saw all
And you were the one who called the police.
From my cell phone, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to go on the women's wrestling team, man. You have a nice day.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Carolyn Oshrin and Frank Stimson are in court after a traffic dispute turned violent. Both motorists claim they were assaulted during their argument in a parking lot.
Mr. Stimson, tell me the rest of your case, sir.
Okay, so when I started walking away after I gave her a piece of my mind, not my lungs, I started walking away. She exited her car, ran towards me. I backed up. She ran over and kicked the side of my truck. I said, if that's what you want to do, I went over and kicked her car. She said, it's not my car anyway, ha, 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 and started yelling and screaming at me. She came at me. She tried to kick me approximately 20 to 30 times, at least, swinging at me. At one point, she got a hold of my shirt and she socked me in the face. At that point, and only at that point, did I raise a hand and I pushed her away to try to get away from her. And I have a witness sitting right here who watched the whole thing also.
Step up. Name?
Marcia Gerard. We were turning left, and it was a long time before she did turn. And she did make a couple of breaks before she entered the driveway, and then stopped at the crosswalk. Then we followed her in, or Frank followed her in, turned left, and followed right behind her. He did get out of the car, went to her, and I...
Just a second. Now you're in the car. What is he saying to you as he's pulling up behind her?
He's just saying, what is wrong? You know, is there something wrong with this lady or
no,
the person?
exactly what is he saying? I don't think that this man said, I wonder what's wrong with this lady.
No, he did. He said, what is wrong? Does she not go, or is she sick or something? Is there something wrong?
He thought she might be sick. Is that what you're telling me?
Or else she's injured or something. I mean, she would not go. He honked the horn a couple of times.
So he thought she might be injured. So he ran up to the car and, according to him, said, did you get your license from a Cracker Jack box? Yes. He didn't go up to the car and say, are you all right?
No.
So he wasn't so concerned that she was sick. Because that's what you would do if somebody is sick. Well, are you an intelligent woman?
Yes, I am.
Did you say to him, Frank, don't get out of the car. This isn't worth... What are you getting out of the car for? Did you say that to him?
No.
Why not?
I just figured he'd handle it himself.
Sir.
One important fact that hasn't been brought up yet, this clown, after he assaulted this woman, this clown left the scene.
I was the one that was assaulted,
He left the scene. He drove away as the police were arriving and went home, I guess, and made the call because the police got the call because he knew he had screwed up and filed a claim against her, which is totally wrong.
Oh, God. It's so easy when you have an eyewitness who's not related to anybody. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I work in retailing as a business consultant.
Well, first of all, sir, I thank you for coming to court today. Too often citizens who see something happen don't participate in the process.
I felt it was my civic duty, ma'am.
You waited for the police?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Stayed through the whole thing. She was traumatized.
Okay. Well, I want to tell you something. She may be traumatized, but she's not smart.
Well...
She was just lucky that he didn't have more than his spit to hurl at her. Yeah. Because he might have, and then she would have been in real trouble.
Very true.
So I hope, madam, that you learned a lesson. A car is a dangerous thing. You don't use it to get even. You don't use it to, you just don't do that. It's not smart. But if you're involved in a dispute with somebody, whether you're a man or a woman, you stay in your car. And if you have a phone in your car, terrific. Otherwise, you drive around and look for a police officer or for somebody else and say, could you please call 911? You don't get out of your car, because otherwise you wind up with that sort of injury.
True.
I would like to say I've got pictures. Now, I was the one attacked here, and if your statement is so correct, why don't you state what you really saw as far as the altercation went, to where a man is backing away from a woman and a woman is coming at him aggressively, swinging, kicking, and flailing. Thank you.
Just answer me.
Obviously, this man was filled with road rage. And it's very obvious. The way that he pulled in right on, it was so weird.
You see someone pulling in have anything to do with physical abuse?
Just a second. Did you see her assault him?
No, not at all.
Did you see anybody kick a car?
You're at fault here, fella.
Did you see anybody kick a car?
Stop fighting with each other. Listen to me. I heard enough.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're suing him for $5,000. You're counterclaiming for $2,000.
Yes.
You, sir.
Would you like to see the physical abuse? I've got pictures.
Oh, sure. I'll take a look at your
many
pictures.
Scratches.
I'll take a look
and
at your pictures.
abrasions.
I'll take a look at your pictures, sir. I want to tell you something. Somebody spits at me, and there isn't a question in my mind that you spit at her. Somebody did it to me. You would have had a lot more than a couple of scratches on your body. A lot.
Yeah. That's fine.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, and the countersuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I thought it was a domestic case that, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, something like that, get into a fight. And once I saw it was on, this guy was, no, of course not. I've never struck a woman in my life, pig.
Neither have I, you slob.
He's on Senna versus McClain. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McClain. Deborah charges that Ms. McClain failed to honor an agreement to enter her daughter Christina in a beauty pageant. Debbie McClain says there was no arrangement. The money was for a sponsorship.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Senna versus McClain. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Let me see if I understand this complaint. Miss Senna, you have a young daughter.
Yes, I do.
This is your daughter, Miss McClain.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter had been involved in modeling as a younger child, and probably even today. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Miss Senna, don't look at your papers. Look at me. According to your complaint, you two ladies became acquainted. You were approached by the defendant, asked if you would like to sponsor her daughter in an upcoming beauty pageant. Is that right?
Yes.
And what was the sponsorship cost?
Well, I guess the sponsorship was, I asked her, she said $185.
So that's what it cost to sponsor. And what else did she say to you?
That she would put my daughter in a beauty pageant that she was running, that she was having, and she would be able to get my daughter into another beauty pageant if she was to get into this first one, which was at the Fallbrook Community Center.
So according to you, you had an agreement with her that if you sponsored her daughter at the cost of $185, she would make sure that your daughter would be in a beauty pageant.
Yes.
And that's why you sponsored her.
Yes.
And you say...
And I say, yes, she did sponsor my daughter. My daughter had gone to her. She was babysitting for her at the time. And she sponsored my daughter to be in a beauty pageant. My daughter did go into the beauty pageant. She won the beauty pageant. At about 2 months later, I did tell her I was going to have a preliminary pageant for another state pageant, and that I would in turn let her daughter go into the pageant at no cost. But at the time my daughter had won this one, we didn't even know we were going to have a beauty pageant. At the time I was supposed to have the beauty pageant, I didn't have it. My mother's mother, my grandmother, had died, and I couldn't have the pageant, and I had to go to Kentucky for the funeral, so I didn't.
So there was never another pageant which this lovely little girl in purple could participate?
Deborah Sena had called me quite a few times and said that she, once she found out I was not going to have the Fallbrook pageant, said that I promised her. I said, I told you you could be, your daughter could be at a pageant at no cost, and I told her that I would just put her daughter in the state pageant with no.
So there was some sort of an understanding that her daughter was going to be in a beauty pageant with your assistance.
Not at the time of her sponsorship. That was not a gift. That was a gift to Casey. It was 2 months later. I told her I would, since she did sponsor Casey, I would put her daughter in a pageant. But that was not a stipulation.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I want to know at the time that you. By the way, I assume you have proof of this $185.
Yes,
you have a canceled check?
Yes.
Well, then could you tell me why you're suing her for $300 and some odd dollars?
Well, $185 was for the check, and then $100 for my daughter. And
$100 for your daughter for what?
Just because my daughter talked about this pageant. Her daughter, Casey, came to my house and babysat and had my daughter all pumped up for this pageant. She had my daughter walking with books on her head, getting her ready and telling her what to do for this pageant. She talked about it to her friends. She was heartbroken about this.
So it's for sort of punitive damages that you're asking money for?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you're countersuing her for $2,500 for some nonsense because you say she harassed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how did she harass you?
When she would call my house repeatedly, sometimes 3-4 times a day. She would swear. The swearing was unbelievable. She came into my place of employment, went to my boss, stated facts that weren't true.
Like what? Were you there?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
She said that I was a bitch and I was a whore, and that I had no reasonable reason to be a mother, and that I owed her money, and that Ron, my boss, should get the money from me. And she would call my house.
Does that sound familiar?
No, absolutely not, Your Honor. That is a big lie. That is a big lie.
You?
Your Honor. Well, the things on the phone, she repeatedly called me. She told me I was a whore just like my mother. Called me an F&B. And I've been taught to give adults respect, but I expect respect from them. And it's something me and my mother have not been getting from her.
Did you make those statements to this young lady?
No, ma'am, I did not. I called, and Casey told me on the telephone, I cannot talk to you about this.
Are you in a business?
I have a business, Tony's Masonry. It's my husband's business.
When you sponsored someone,
yes,
their name appears on a program or something. Do you have that program?
I never got a program, ma'am.
Do you have it?
I don't have a program. It happened 1.5 years ago. We recently moved 5 months ago. But I do have a copy of a normal sponsorship agreement saying that there was no refunds are available.
Just a second. That's not what I'm asking you. I asked you one thing. I asked you for apples. You gave me mashed potatoes.
I'm sorry.
Okay? What I asked you is, I assume, put it down. I assume that if your daughter is in the pageant industry, that you keep a scrapbook. And I assume that you keep all the memorabilia from all of her pageants. That only sounds like common sense to me. Put your hand down. Sorry. I'm really smart. So I assume you have all of the books from your daughter's pageant.
5 months ago we moved and I told Casey to get rid of all of that stuff she was collecting.
How many pageants have you been in?
Around 15.
That's not a lot to keep. Especially one that you won. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? Especially a pageant that you won, you don't get rid of. You keep this, but you keep the crown, but you don't keep the program.
Right.
That doesn't sound logical to me. Why didn't you pay for this $185 yourself?
I didn't even start this process. Casey went to Deborah and asked for a sponsorship.
Did you initially have the conversation with her?
Yes, I did.
When?
One time I was babysitting for her daughter.
And what did you say to her?
I said, Debbie, I'm entering a beauty pageant, and if I would like to be in it, I have to pay for it myself or figure out a sponsorship to go into the pageant. So I asked Debbie, since I was babysitting her daughter, if she would sponsor me. And not at that time, I said that she could be in a beauty pageant.
And what did she say?
She said she'd love to. And it was out of her business, too.
She said she would love to.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I really wish Debbie Seasson would shut up.
You know what? That's respect.
Well, you don't give me respect, Debbie.
You don't deserve it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McLean over a beauty pageant which her daughter Christina was to enter. Debbie McLean says she was paying for her daughter Casey's sponsorship, not for Deborah's daughter Christina to be in another pageant.
So when did she have a conversation with your mother?
I believe she had a conversation with my mother on the phone, seeing if it was fine, see if I asked Debbie, and then we went to her house to pick up the check.
Together?
Yes.
Does that sound right to you?
Your Honor?
Miss Sena, look
No.
at me.
Does not.
She did not speak to you first
No, she did
about
not.
it?
No, she did not. I spoke to her mother on the telephone. We were talking about sponsoring. One was contingent to the other.
No, that's not what I asked you, Miss Sana.
And, I'm sorry.
This young lady says that she asked you first to be her sponsor.
No, she did not. Her mother and I spoke about it on the telephone while I talked to her mother about having her daughter babysit for me. That's how that happened.
Okay, we don't have to take very long with this. Giving your story the best possible scenario. Okay, your story. You agreed to sponsor her, and she agreed that in the future, sometime in the future, your daughter was going to be in a pageant that she was going to run.
No, ma'am.
No, yes, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't the same pageant, it was a second pageant.
It was the Fallbrook pageant.
It was another pageant that never took place. Is that correct?
Right.
All right. So the other pageant never took place, and therefore she could not fulfill that part of even assuming your agreement unless you can establish to my satisfaction that it was owing to her fault and her fault alone, her negligence, that second pageant didn't take place. You're at $185.
If
you sponsored her daughter. Now, I'm not 100% satisfied that both of these young ladies telling me the truth. And that includes you. You understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Because as sweet and as adorable as you look, I think you're a pretty good actress. That's because I have daughters.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I know daughters can be pretty good actresses. But Miss Sania, I know your daughter is disappointed. I know she's unhappy, but you didn't have a writing with this lady that one was contingent on the other.
I have a witness that heard her say this in my house when I presented the check to her.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do, ma'am. She's
I'd
right
like
here.
to hear the witness.
My name is my friend's name is Maria.
Maria, you step up here. Now, Maria what?
She came over to
No, Maria what? Your
Maria
last name?
Cazares. Cazares? Your Honor, she came to Deborah's house, and we had just gotten there, and
who's we?
Me and Deborah, and she came over, and her daughter came in the house, and she says her daughter and Christina went outside to look at the pool, and she said Deborah gave her the check, and Debbie said, "Okay, and this is for you're sponsoring my daughter, and in return, I will put Christina in the Fallbrook pageant."
Are you telling me that she said, in return, are those the words, listen to me, are those specifically the words that you remember as you stand here under oath? You remember her saying to you, and in return, I will put your daughter?
Yes,
Maria.
I do, Your Honor.
What makes you remember that so vividly, madam?
Because it was a big thing with Christina. She was telling everybody. She was,
I didn't ask you why it was important to the child. I asked you, what makes it so clear in your mind that you can stand here today under oath and you tell me that you specifically remember her using the words, in return for?
Because I remember her saying that.
And how long ago was this?
In May.
Mm-hmm. Of this year?
Yep. Last year. Not this year, 96.
I'm not sure whether I believe that. In any event, I think that this is a sad situation. Did you write a business check for this $185?
Yes, I did, ma'am. Your Honor?
Yeah.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
When Deborah came into my home and Maria heard her, Deborah the kids were in the backyard, and she came in the house, and she took my check so fast, and she did say she's going to, in return, put my daughter into her beauty pageant.
Yeah, but she didn't have a beauty pageant.
And she took out.
Just
Yes,
a
she
second.
didn't.
She didn't have one. Did she have a beauty pageant that she didn't put your daughter in?
No, but that's why I did the sponsoring.
No, but just a second. Did she have a beauty pageant that she didn't put your daughter in?
No. And that's why I did it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her daughter is one of the biggest brats I've ever known in my life. She's a brat. Look at you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McLean. Deborah charges that Ms. McLean failed to honor an agreement to enter her daughter Christina in a beauty pageant. Debbie McLean says there was no arrangement. The money was for a sponsorship.
Did she have a beauty pageant that you didn't put your daughter in?
No. And I really feel really taken, and I'm sorry that it had to be this way, because I just wouldn't be here if I didn't feel that I was, you know, I wouldn't be...
Taken?
Right.
You think that Miss Sena feels as if she was taken? Miss McLean?
I believe she feels like she was taken.
Okay. Now, she feels as if she was taken because she was led to believe by you, led to believe that her little girl was going to have an opportunity to be in a beauty pageant. That's correct? Is that correct?
She believes, yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Okay. And you did not fulfill that part of the agreement because you say your grandmother died.
It wasn't a part of the agreement at the time of the sponsorship.
Let us assume she believed that based upon everything, that was why she was giving you $185.
That's what she believes, yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, you say you led some credence to that because you, in your answer, say, well, the other pageant didn't take place because I had some personal problems.
I said she could be in it at no cost 2 months later. Yes, ma'am.
At no cost because you were arranging it.
Yes, ma'am.
But then you didn't arrange it.
I was unable to fulfill my obligation having the pageant, and it did upset quite a few young ladies, and it upset me that I couldn't have it.
Good.
But I did have a
But
death
none
in
of
the
those
family.
other ladies that it upset had given you $185.
Had given my daughter, yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can understand why she's upset.
Yes, ma'am, I
And you can understand why her little girl is upset.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
All right? All right. Miss Sena, I'm not exactly sure that I'm getting the truth, the 100% truth from you or from you. I know what you thought. And I know you thought that you got taken, because I don't think otherwise you would have sponsored, you would have given her a check for $185. How much did you used to pay her for babysitting?
I paid her $350, and I always pay Casey really good because my daughter always liked her. And I really do feel taken.
Why didn't you save the money from babysitting for sponsor money?
Because I used all the extra, like all my babysitting money as what a regular teenager would do.
Well, why didn't you save it for your sponsorship?
Because when I was babysitting her, I really didn't think I was going to be in this beauty pageant. It was at the last minute thing.
Oh, why was it at the last minute?
Because I didn't get the entry form until late.
So that you didn't have any money?
Right, for myself.
So, and you wanted to do it very badly?
Yes, I did.
Now, now the common sense part is coming together, so that you went to her immediately.
Right.
This lady immediately.
Right.
All right. Very good. I understand.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, Miss Sena, I do believe that you are entitled to $185 from these people. I don't believe you're entitled to any more. I don't believe you're entitled to compensation for your daughter's pain and suffering or anything else. And I am dismissing your counterclaim for $2,500. So, I'm going to tell you one other thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Telling the truth is very important.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
Some people have a special gift. They may be very dumb at certain things, but some people can tell when somebody is lying to them. It's one thing when older people lie. I don't know, sometimes I think that it's reasonable. It certainly sets a bad example. It certainly sets a bad example.
She is not lying, Your Honor.
Well, I'm not so sure.
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm not so sure that the agreement that you two ladies made with your daughter, either present or outside the room, gave this lady the distinct impression that if she was going to shell over $185, it was with the understanding and assurance that it's a future date and a future pageant. Her little girl was going to have the same opportunity to go around and prance around on stage and be in a pageant. And that's why you showed her how to walk, showed her how to
Correct.
move,
Yeah.
showed her how to do all those things. That's what the
2 months
inducement
later.
was. That was the inducement.
That was, but it was not a contingency. At the time when she sponsored my daughter, I did not even know I was going to have a beauty pageant. Did
Judgment
not.
in this case is for the plaintiff, the
Thank
amount of
you.
$185. That's all.
You are excused. You may step out.
That's not
Let's get out of here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You're looking now at the real Debbie.
What's
This
wrong
is
with
her
me?
attitude.
I'm happy, Debbie. I'm really happy. You are sad. You called me names. What's the difference?
You called me an effing hoe. You called my mother
When?
an effing hoe.
When?
You called my mom a
Look
bitch.
at you. Look, when did I call you that?
You called
Why would I? You know what, Casey? Grow up, okay?
Assaulted in a Hollywood electronics store owned by David Cohen while trying to buy film.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 242 on the calendar in the matter of Barnes versus Cohen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Barnes, you claim that you were assaulted in defendant's store while you were there buying film.
Yes.
Where did this take place?
On Hollywood and Boulevard.
Were you a tourist?
Yes, I was.
According to this, you were a tourist.
I was
Who
a
were you
tourist.
with?
I was with my brother and his girlfriend, which are my witness, and my sister.
And you ran out of film?
And I ran out of film, right. I ran out of film, so I went into this film camera shop to purchase some films. And while I was in there, this man here was very, very rude to me.
Well, tell me exactly what happened. You went into the store and you said?
And I went into the store and I asked him, do you have films for my camera? And he said yes. So I asked him how much the films were. And he told me, and then I told him I think they cost too much, you know. And so at that time, my brother told me, he said, well, you know, I know another place where we can go to get them a little bit cheaper. And so at that time, he got all mad and upset because he said that, you know, that's why he hated to deal with the N-word, call us, you know, and stuff. And he was very, very rude to us, very, you know, obnoxious.
Did you buy the film?
So I had purchased it, and then I asked him, I told him that I decided that I didn't want the films. So I gave, you know, I asked him to give me my money back, you know. And so then he said, that's what he said, well, that's why I hate dealing with you. You know, he was just cursing and going on. And I'm not used to nobody hollering and screaming at me like that, you know.
So far, he said a lot of bad things to you.
Yes, he did.
And then what happened?
Instead of giving my money back, he took my money and he threw it in my face. And so I was really, you know, upset and shocked. I started crying and everything. Then the next thing I know, the guy that was standing beside me hauled off and kicked me in my leg, you know.
Who was standing beside you?
Some man that worked in the store with him. I don't know, with some merchant, I don't know, a salesperson or something. He was just standing there. And all of a sudden, this guy threw the money in my face. This other guy kicked me in my leg. You know, and I have the pictures here. I have the doctor's statement, everything. And I'm suing for pain and suffering.
Okay, sir, let me hear your version of what transpired.
Your Honor, I wasn't on that location to begin with. I have 3 different locations in Hollywood Boulevard.
Were you in the store at the time that this happened?
Absolutely not.
Well, who was? Step up here, please. Tell me your name.
My name is Emmanuel Cohen,
okay.
And I manage the store on Hollywood Boulevard.
And you own the store?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you tell me your version of what happened. Is this the gentleman that you were dealing with?
This is the man right here, Your Honor, that threw the money in my face.
Okay.
The one with the glasses.
Okay. So you tell me, sir, what happened, your version of what happened when this lady came into your store.
I was standing behind the counter where all the films is located. 4 of them, they walked in. They asked how much is a Polaroid film. I told them $12.99. She asked me if she can get a discount. I said no.
No, I didn't.
He was quiet. You have to be quiet. Go ahead.
I said no. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, that man that's sitting there, he says, you know what? I don't like his face. He called me a name. Even though that he said all of these things to me, just a couple of words, she started telling him, shut up, be quiet. It's none of your affair. Shut up and get out of the store.
She told
him.
She told her brother.
Yes.
Okay.
After that, she said, that's okay. She threw $13 on the counter. I give her the Polaroid film. Before I ring it up, she walked out. 2 minutes later, she came back in again and she threw the film at my counter. And she says, I want my money back. At that time, I don't want any headache. So I void the sale. I give her the $13. She threw the film like this. By the time she was walking out, she go like this on my counter. I have no idea why she do this. She throw everything, the credit card machine, the printer, all my business card, the telephone, the stapler, my stamp, my receipt book, the whole thing on the floor. And I'm standing here behind the counter. She threw everything behind the counter and in front of the counter. And she walked out. We have a narrow
What
door.
happened with another employee who she says kicked her?
We had one person with the name of Elmer Gomez. This man, I have his telephone number and everything, right? He came that morning around 9:30 to the store to be trained or to see how he's making a sale. He's not hiree of us, we not hire him, we just try him out. He was there with another salesman. Both of them, they were in the back selling a video camera. Nobody was up front to kick or to harass or to do anything with her. I'm still behind my counter. I have no way to get out that fast or kick or do something. She's not
suggesting that you kicked her, sir.
For the past 17 years we've been
You're
in
not
Hollywood.
suggesting that he kicked you, right?
No, it was another man in the
No,
store,
ma'am.
Your Honor,
No,
that
Your
kicked
Honor.
me.
Excuse me.
Would you describe what that man looked like?
He was like about his size, but kind of, he was a little younger.
Older?
He was a little younger. I don't know how old he was, but he was a little bit younger than both of these men. These are not the two men, the man that kicked me.
Step up here, sir. Tell me your name.
John Ellis. I'm her brother.
Where were you visiting from?
She was visiting from San Francisco. She came to visit me, and we had all planned to go sightseeing that weekend. So we were on Hollywood Boulevard, so we went to get some films. So this gentleman with the glasses was very, very unprofessional, very rude to us. So my sister told me, my sister told me to walk out the store, leave him alone, because I was upset. And I left the store.
And you left?
I just walked out.
So you didn't see your sister get kicked?
No, I left the store because I didn't want to get no competition.
Yeah.
My brother's girlfriend was in the store. She was still in the store that saw.
Did you see her get kicked by someone?
Yes, I did.
Well, then step up here. You may sit down, sir. Tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Deborah Key. Okay, I seen where...
Look at me, please.
Okay, I seen where the gentleman with the glasses, okay, he said once she asked for her money back.
I want you to tell me about the kick that you say you saw.
Okay, about the kick.
Look at my eyes.
Okay, the guy just all of a sudden, he had no kind of words with the man. He just all of a sudden just kicked her. He just kicked her. Just deliberately just kicked her for no apparent reason. So that's when she got to hollering and screaming and fell down. I immediately pulled out my cell phone and called 911. I called 911, and then that's when the police came.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You say he didn't assault you.
Now that I look at him now, Your Honor, he is the man.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. As Harriet Barnes attempted to purchase film in a Hollywood electronics store owned by David Cohen, she says she was attacked.
Now, where is this Mr. Gomez today?
He ran away from my store because for the first hour that he stopped working for me, he had to deal with such a thing.
They arrested him. They put a handcuff on Elmer Gomez, this new guy, and they body search him. I saw that things are happening, and I called the store number 2. He was there, and I told him, come over here, and we have a little problem over here. As soon as he comes in, the police, they were over standing there.
I came in and I said to the police officer, I am the owner, what can I do for you? All of a sudden, this lady that I see her for the second time, she got up and she said, you hit her. So all of a sudden, the police officer that saw me, I'm coming from my next door store to this location, they opened the cuff from the gentleman that we call here Elmer Gomer, and they put it on me. And I told the officer, you know that it's not true. She said, David, relax. It's a citizen arrest. If they would leave it up to me, I would not take you down there because I know you came from the other location.
Were you, just a second, were you present in the store when the police arrived?
When the police arrived, Your Honor, I was out on the street, on the ground, holding my leg.
Did you ever see this gentleman at the store on that day?
No, I didn't. No, not this one. I saw this one and the other man that hit me.
After the incident, after the police were there, did you see this man here? This gentleman?
Yes. Well, this one right here, yes. He was there after the police arrived.
Did you ever see this man in handcuffs?
No. No, Your Honor.
Who was in handcuffs?
The man that kicked me.
Were you ever called to go to the criminal court with regard to that man?
No.
Well, you had an arrest made of somebody who, say, assaulted you. Did you ever follow up on it?
No.
Why not? Somebody assaulted you, and you had them arrested. Didn't you follow through with the police? Didn't you go down, file a police report?
Yes, I did. I have a police report. You know, I have the police report. It's right there.
Yeah, you filed it.
Didn't anybody ask you to come down to the police precinct?
Yes, that lady called, remember?
Yeah, some lady.
Sir, stand up here. Do you know anything about this?
Yes, the lady
called.
So what
happened?
Because she lived in San Francisco, and I was taking care of all the business because she was in San Francisco, and she couldn't come back and forth.
Well, what happened when the police called?
They called me and told me that we were going to court on the
16th.
On the it was like 2 months ago. We were supposed to go to criminal court.
Right.
Then they called back and said it was thrown out of court or something.
What do you mean it was thrown out of court? Why was it thrown out of court?
I don't know.
Did you come down to criminal court?
No, because I didn't know that I was supposed to
Well, your brother knew.
You know.
Just a minute. Your brother knew.
She said we was on standby and she'll call if she need us.
That's what it was.
The DA told us. We was on standby, and she said we was for 10 days that she'll call us. I gave her my phone number and my cell phone number, and she'll call me. She never did call. She said if you don't call, then we don't have to come. We don't have to appear. So that's why we didn't go down.
Give me the name of the district attorney.
What was her name?
We have the dismissal.
I'd like to see it, please, and I may have to call the district attorney. I'm going to tell you what my problem is. I don't understand why people who have a legitimate complaint for an assault don't follow through with the criminal case and yet follow through with a civil case. Why wouldn't you follow through and want to see justice done?
We have never been to a court before in our lives. This is all new processes to me.
Yeah, but you know, you came to a civil court to get money. Why not go to the criminal court to have justice done there?
Okay, well, we did this, and we got subpoena, and I told her, I asked her, do we have to appear? She said no.
Just a minute. This piece of paper says, Ms. Barnes, that you caused to be arrested Nasser Shlomo Cohen. Who is that?
That's me, Your Honor.
And you signed that you swore that he assaulted you.
I see.
Ms. Barnes, shh. Well, read what you wrote. Not anybody else. Read what you wrote.
Your Honor, if they stop telling her what to do in her life, I think she would be much successful person in life.
That's none of your business, sir.
I'm sorry.
Now, let me see the rest of the papers, please. And get me the name of the district attorney, sir.
I'll get that name for you.
And Your Honor, may I say something again?
Now, let me look at some papers, sir. Don't say anything yet.
But you wouldn't dare.
I don't have a certificate of disposition about what happened with this case.
It got dismissed, Your Honor.
It's not here. You said to me, now I've read all the papers here. Did you find the name of the district attorney, sir?
I have a phone number you can call.
Sure.
213.
Let me see the other papers that you have there, please.
This is for the regular, for the...
All right. Let's see. All I want to make sure is as follows. It's your statement, madam, that you were perfectly prepared to proceed with the criminal case against the person who you said assaulted you, but you were never contacted to appear. That is what you told me. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you were never contacted, never told that you have to come down for a trial.
No, I never got a phone call.
Okay. Why don't you all have a seat, please? Please. Make room for your sister, sir.
Oh.
Get up.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You just told me 5 minutes ago that it was somebody else
because he looks different, Your Honor. He looks completely different.
Younger. Oh, please, madam.
He does.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harriet Barnes wants damages she says resulted from an assault in a Hollywood electronics store owned by David Cohen.
Bill, this is Judge Scheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. Who are you, Mr. Great. Okay. It's a very simple matter. I was given by litigants who were before me on a civil case a subpoena in a criminal case, and I do not believe that they appeared. They tell me, the defendants in this case tell me that the case in the criminal court was dismissed for whatever reason. The complaint that I have, the criminal subpoena, is people of the state of California plaintiff versus Nasir Cohen. It's important, but it really becomes less important because clearly in this case, even according to the plaintiffs, the wrong person was named as a defendant. You don't know. It's very possible. Well, I thank you very much for your time. I will try to ferret this out, but as far as you know, this case absolutely was dismissed, as it probably should have been. Very well. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your help. Bye-bye. Oh, I'm getting too old for this. I have a cold. I don't feel well. And something is not right here. Step up here. Step up here. And on the phone trying to ferret out what's going on. First of all, you step up here, too. I want you to take a look at this, sir. That piece of paper, that summons that you gave me, is the people of the state of California against this man for assault. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You say he didn't assault you.
Now that I look at him now, Your Honor, he is the man.
Yeah.
He is.
What do you mean now that you look at him? You just told me 5 minutes ago that it was somebody else
because he looks different, Your Honor. He looks completely different.
Younger. Oh, please, madam.
He does. He was dressed different that day and everything.
My problem, Miss Barnes, is as follows. I just spoke to the city attorney. You clearly filed your case against this man. He was arrested. He was processed because we have a complaint. The district attorney told me that the case against this man was dismissed. 5 minutes ago, you said to me, this person didn't do it, this person didn't do it, it was somebody else. And all of a sudden, when I take a break, you say, he looks different from the day it was him. Clearly, from what you told me before, it was not this person.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I am mortified that you came here as a tourist to have a good time, and you had what was a miserable experience. But you have to be able to prove a case. You should have gone to the criminal court. Maybe because you knew that the right person wasn't being charged, you didn't go to the criminal court. That's a possibility. But you should have. because you can't abdicate your responsibility as a citizen in the criminal case and then come in and sue for a lot of money civilly and expect a court to hear less quality proof than it would take in another court. I know one thing for certain. I am not satisfied that this man assaulted you. And if I'm not satisfied that this man assaulted you, your case has to be dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It's a policy of me because I'm Persian. I just say I'm a citizen of this country. I have to be nice to people.
I'll tell you one thing, anybody go to that store, don't shop at that store. But they're very rude and very unprofessional.
Thank you very much.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make sure that nobody else comes to that store.
No problem.
We are here to make money, and this nonsense don't mean nothing to us. I'm sorry if they had a bad experience. And really, I'm sorry.
Man, get out of here. Don't say sorry to me.
Please.
40-year-old Terry Beers says her daughter, Amy Murphy, broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Beers versus Murphy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, sir.
It's your daughter.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter broke your glasses during an altercation that you were having.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to get to the reason why you would sue her for the damage to your glasses, for the new glasses, in a minute. I have a countersuit by you for the destruction of a fish tank and fish and the filter and everything else against your mother. I think you're probably suing the wrong person, because I don't think she destroyed your fish tank, right?
Right.
So let's start at the beginning. How did this tragedy start?
Amy had written to me in May and asked to come and live with us. They wanted to relocate from Vermont.
Who's they?
Amy and Jeff and my grandchildren.
Jeff.
Yes.
And
Go
so
ahead, sit down.
I allowed them to come in, and we were all getting along just fine. And then Amy decided that she was no longer going to be associated with Jeff, so she kicked him out of my house. Well, 2 weeks went by, and he said that he wasn't going to support his grandchildren. And with my rising utility bills, I asked him to move those fish out of my house.
Okay, we sort of missed a step. When they moved in not only with their children.
Yes.
But with a fish tank.
Big fish tanks.
How big?
About as big as this table. One of them was, and then the other one was about this big.
Full of fish?
There were only 4 fish.
Okay. But a big tank?
Big tanks.
Okay. All right. So you decided that the electric bills were too high.
Mm-hmm.
So you told him to get his fish tank out of
Just
the
to
house.
move the fish, and I would take care of the children and Amy.
Okay. What happened? He didn't?
He didn't, no. For about 2 weeks, we all tried to get him to move those fish, and he wouldn't. And then on the night of August 3rd, Edward...
That's your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am. Unplugged the fish tank. Both of them. Amy discovered that they were unplugged, plugged them back in. Now, I wasn't here at the time.
The 4 fish were still alive at that point?
Yeah.
Big fish, little fish?
Big fish.
Big.
Big fish. She plugged them back in, and Edward kind of got a little upset and started throwing things out the door.
You mean the fish tank out the door?
Just the filters, the pump, and lights.
Wrong. Right?
Right.
Right. That's what I said that evening.
Wrong. That he was
if I
wrong.
would have been there, I don't think it would have happened.
So you weren't there when
No,
he
I
threw
was
it.
not.
And then your daughter came in.
Well, she called me at a friend's house to give me grief. And then I went home, and about a half an hour later, Amy comes through my
bedroom door just a screeching. And we ended up in my other daughter's bedroom, and we were still screeching at each other. And she just started hitting me.
And your glasses fell off?
They broke off.
They broke off. Where did she hit you?
About the head and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I restrained her on my daughter's bed. And we were screeching a little more. And next thing I know, she pops me in the mouth about 5 or 6 times after that.
Had you ever had that kind of physical altercation with your daughter before, Ms.
No.
Beers? It was the first time?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
My daughter's going to be 2 in December, and my son's going to be 4 in February.
So you were 16 when your son was born?
Yes.
He's the father of both children?
Yes.
You work?
Yep.
That's a start. What do you do?
Carpentry and fishing, commercial fishing.
You make a living?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Are you married?
No.
Nope.
Stand up here. Why?
I didn't want to rush Amy into a marriage situation, into a full commitment type thing. I want it to be, her decision as well as mine. And she, being young, I wasn't going to rush her into making a full commitment like that.
What do you think a 2- and a 4-year-old are?
A commitment.
That's a full commitment. A marriage, you can say, I made a mistake, I put erasers on pencils for a reason, I crossed this out, and I move on. You can't do that with 2 children. Always amazes me. I'm not from this generation.
From a different time.
Different time. You have to make a mental commitment to get married, but not to have 2 children together.
We want to get married.
What?
But it's not that easy.
Why is it not Why is it not that easy?
Because we've had a rough time. I mean, it is difficult making a living, supporting 2 children, and paying all the bills myself.
Well, you've been doing it now for 4 years. Why can't you pay $15 and get a marriage license?
Did that bother you?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you have to forgive each other.
Just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Beers is suing her daughter, Amy Murphy, because she broke her eyeglasses during a fight over 2 fish tanks. Amy claims her mother caused the fight, and she only pushed her in self-defense.
Now, Amy.
Yes.
Did you hit your mother?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because she would not get off me, and I kept on telling her to get off me.
I wasn't on her at that time.
She was quiet.
I'm
now
sorry.
you have to be quiet, Miss Beers. She was on you how, Amy?
She pinned me down to my sister's bed, and she had me locked down.
Well, how did it start?
How did it start?
You came home, you were angry.
Yes, but...
So you walk in the door, you're angry. Tell me what happened.
I went into my mother's room, and I did ask for an explanation.
How did you ask?
I said it with a tone, but I wasn't screaming, though.
Okay.
But Ed, both of these people were drunk at this time, too. And they were screaming at me, and I just come off, and I said, you have lost rights to my grandchildren because of this. And I walked out of the room, and I started to go get some clothes for the kids. Ed came in the room first, and he was hollering at me, and he was in my face hollering at me, and he wouldn't back away from me. And my mother came in the room, and I was going to walk downstairs, and she blocked the doorway and said I wasn't going anywhere, little missy. And Ed had approached me, and my mother was in my face. Both of them were screaming at me, and these two people are drunk in front of me, screaming at me, and I was asking them nicely, and then I went to screaming to tell them to get them out of my face, and they wouldn't. I was scared.
So what did you do, Amy?
What did I do?
Amy,
I
look at
went
me.
toward-
Look at me and
I'm
tell me what
sorry.
you did.
I went towards the doorway, and my mother blocked the door, and I backed up, and she got in my face some more.
And you pushed her.
Yes, I pushed her away from me, but it was a push, just get away from me, please. And she pushed me back. I pushed her, she pushed me back, and I ended up on the bed, and she pinned me there. And I kept on telling her to get off me. I was screaming, I was crying for her to get off me. I have 2 bars in my back, and she was hurting me. And through everything that I've been through in my life, this woman did not deserve to do that to me.
Everybody was hot, Amy?
Yes, everyone was. Everyone was angry.
And you were hot over a fish tank.
It wasn't really the fish tank, it was the point behind it.
Which was?
Was why he did that to my things. I mean...
Yeah, he was absolutely wrong. But what did that have to do with your mother?
What did it have to do with my mother?
Yeah,
I called her up on the phone. She was at a friend's house, and she was trying to warn me all along that Ed was going to get angry and he was going to do something, but I never knew what he was going to do. I never, immediately thought, oh, that means he's going to ruin my fish stuff. I mean, I never knew that was he's going to do. My mom tried warning me, and that's what I was angry about. And she just stood right by his side like it was no big deal at all.
No, well, she tried to warn you, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I certainly am not condoning him destroying property that belonged to you. It was your property?
It's hers.
Mine.
It was yours?
It was a family project. The kids helped me put it together, and they were all involved in it. And
Yeah, it
when
was
we
an
came back,
absolutely
the
wrong
kids
thing to
saw
do.
this. The kids saw that.
What happened to the fish?
Well, eventually they were killed. They were dumped out on the ground. The tank was smashed.
And if they waited one more day, we would have found...
Who did that?
Ed and Harold.
And I would like to submit that another reason their electricity bill was so high is because Harold put a new air conditioner in his little trailer, and they had 15 things all plugged into one outlet. Of course your electricity bill is going to go right up.
Jeff, that's really not particularly relevant.
Okay.
Your last name, sir?
Hutchinson.
They may sue you for this fish tank,
Right.
right? But this lawsuit is against your mother. The countersuit is against your mother's. She didn't destroy your fish tank. You had no reason to touch their property.
Exactly.
Period. I don't care what it is. First of all, sir, how long have you two been together?
5 years.
What you do, and I don't know whether you're in for the long haul or the short haul, that's up to her.
Long haul.
Long haul? Anybody that would do such a thing, that would have that kind of temper, Miss Beers, I would think about making it a long-term commitment.
Well, we're working on it.
You got to usually start with them when they're about 3.
Oh, well, I know.
Right? So, he's past 3. But you see, Ed, what you did affected her relationship with her daughter. My sense is that you had a baby when you were 16, became pregnant when you were 15. There was probably a lot of turmoil in your house. That a fair statement? Was your mother supportive of you?
No.
Well, she let you move back into the house. How could you say that wasn't
She did,
supportive?
but she threw me out when I was 16 years old, out onto the street, packed my sister's things. I had nowhere to go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You only have one mother. She may not be perfect. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Want to give her a hug?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Beers and her daughter, Amy Murphy, are in court after an argument turned violent, leaving Terry with broken eyeglasses. Amy says she was only defending herself after her mother started the fight.
How long were you estranged from your mother?
Oh, I'd say
Not very long.
Year?
no, it wasn't that long.
Okay.
They were still in Maine when my first grandchild was born.
Amy, what I'm trying to say is, you know, other people come and go in your life. That's just a reality. But you may get angry with your mother, she may get angry with you, you may have arguments, whatever. But you can usually count on your mother. Bottom line, when all is said and done, more than you can count on anybody else in your whole life. You can count on your mother. Now, what you did, sir, was interfere with that. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I am.
Good. Then you can sit down. That was a good thing to say, so I can't even say anything to you. You are ashamed of yourself. You broke your mother's glasses.
Yes, I did.
It's a shame, Mrs. Beers, that you came to court with your daughter. I'm surprised that you did. You have a right to. Maybe what you needed was sort of a catharsis to get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Maybe that's why you're here. I think you have to forgive each other. Amy, you're 20 years old. 20 years old is hardly cooked for a human being. And you may have lots of anger with your mother. She may have a lot of disappointment with you over, you know, the way things turned out. But eventually it'll work itself out if you let it. You know.
Just sick and tired of getting hurt. I've been through too much in my life, and I have 2 kids, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them.
We were trying to start over.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
Well, Amy, it's never too late to give it a shot with your mom. So you buy her new glasses. New glasses, what, $200? So that you have.
Thank you.
But Amy, you have 2 kids. And you have parents, Jeff?
Yeah, the kids are with my parents right now, and we haven't seen them since this happened.
Haven't seen the children?
Nope.
Why?
Because I've been busy every day working, and we really haven't been able to afford to go back and forth from Vermont, and we want our kids back as soon as we can.
So
and
they're
now
living
we
with
have
your
a stable
parents?
environment, yes.
So they're living with your parents?
Yeah, they're in their custody. I place custody of the children with my parents.
It's the safest thing to do for them.
At the time, that wasn't what it was. It was to hurt you.
What?
I don't
This is what Amy came home and told me, that he was taking the kids away to hurt Amy because he wouldn't take her back.
Well, they have clearly had some difficulty.
This is true.
Judge Judy,
yeah.
we agreed together to give custody of the kids to my parents, and it was a decision. We decided to take the kids out of Ed and Terry's
Well,
house
then Amy's
because it
only-
was not a fit environment for our children.
Well, Jeff, I don't necessarily disagree with you, because I don't think that the kind of environment where you have this kind of hostility is a good place for children. It's a good thing for children to be surrounded by the love and support of grandparents. Grandparents are nice to children. You know, they do all the nice things for kids and don't usually have any of the downside, discipline, and that sort of stuff. But bottom line is, if you are 2 reasonable people, you're going to have to make a solid home for yourselves so that you can take care of your children, because it's not fair for children to bounce around from one home to another home to your home, to not see you for weeks at a time. Children don't understand that, especially when they're 2 and 4 years old. How old are you?
28 today.
Oh, well, we share a birthday.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Seems to me it's time for you 2 kids to really grow up and understand that you made these 2 babies, and it's your responsibility to grow up and make a home for them. I also want you to think, Amy, that you only have one mother. She may not be perfect. She may have made some tremendous mistakes. You made mistakes. And let's discount Ed. Ed is not really part of your life. She's part of your life. And if she's made mistakes as a mother, you're supposed to forgive her. Mothers are supposed to have unconditional love for their children. And children, as they get older, are supposed to forgive the frailties of a parent, because parents aren't perfect. Your kids will benefit from loving two sets of grandparents. All right? Okay. You're going to buy your mother some new glasses. Want to give her a hug? Please. Huh? Not yet?
Nope. Not ready to yet.
Will you think about it? Please?
Yep.
Okay. Good luck.
Isaac, excuse you, may step out. Out the back door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's telling everybody the wrong things. She tells people what she wants them to hear and not what you two discussed.
I've been through a lot with this woman, and there's just no ending to the games that I'm going through, and I'm sick of it. And this is the end of it right here, and I've already made up my mind, so.
On Matar versus Soria. Step forward, please.
30-year-old mother Micheline Matar says her 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 327 on the calendar in the matter of Matar versus Soria. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You pronounce your name Matar?
Matar, yes.
Miss Matar, this is your little girl?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she was playing at a friend's house with your children.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, she was bitten by your dog.
Yes.
This dog. And you seek reimbursement for your medical bills.
Yes, please.
There is no dispute that your dog bit her. It scratched her, is that right?
Right, there's no dispute as to that, no.
Well, then why don't you tell me why you don't believe you're responsible for the child's medical bills?
First of all, Your Honor, my dog, he's really good. He always has a problem with sensitive ears. And when the children started coming over, I make sure, and I told him, the dog is fine, just don't pull his ears. Because he'll react. He reacts to adults, he reacts to us. It's a problem that he's had since he was a puppy. He's now 6 years old.
Okay, so that I found interesting in your answer. You said that the dog has had a problem with his ears since he was a puppy. Tell me what kind of problem.
It's really hard for me to tell you. I taken him to the vet, and he says, well, he just has sensitive ears. There's nothing wrong with him inside that he can see that's physical. It's just a sensitivity that he has.
Well, what has the dog done?
He hasn't done anything to anybody before. What he's done, and my daughter can probably show you, is if you grab his ears and try to extend them, he tries to move, kind of bite off your hand off his ears.
So he tries to bite off your hand to let...
because he is not comfortable with that. And that was something that I explained to the children, not only when they first started visiting, but every single time that they went to play with the dog. I said, you can play with him, you can pet him anywhere you want, just don't pull his ears. He's fine if you just, touch him down, but if you extend them, he has a problem with that.
Sit up here. Hi.
Hi.
Veronica, can you tell me about the day that you went and played in the house where that dog was?
First, I went to my friend Christy's house.
Is that their house? How old is Christy?
8.
8.
And how old are you?
8.
Okay, sit still, okay? So you went to play at the house, and what happened?
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Where did you pet him?
On the head.
Did you pull his ears? You sure? You just went to pet him. Had you played with the dog before? Dog never bit you before. Where were you bitten? Veronica?
Over here and that.
Right over here where that mark is? Did it hurt? Did you have to go to the doctor?
The hospital.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Do you know how many stitches you had? And how long ago did this happen? A while ago? You know, my eyes aren't so good anymore. So I need these glasses to really get a good look at, you know, your face, because your face is beautiful. Right? Just had that little mark on it, so let me see. Come close to me. Oh, it's gonna be gorgeous. People aren't gonna look at that, they're gonna look at your gorgeous eyes. Right? I'm telling you. Okay. Why don't you go sit down? You feel better about going to sit down? Yes? Okay. Heard?
Sure.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It's obvious that it was in her house, it's her dog, and if she knows that he has a problem, keep him away from children. Don't give the responsibility for an 8-year-old to know what she has to do.
And I understand what you're saying. The point, too, is that the responsibility of having a dog is almost, you know, the words that your husband told me was, well, what kind of people are you to have a dog? Well, I'm sorry.
Miss Soria, listen to me. You know, things get hot when you're in the middle of a dispute. I think that sometimes animals are unpredictable. And even though an animal has not done anything in the past, you never can tell when something is going to trigger some sort of aberrant behavior, like biting a child. Your dog, while you tell me that he has not bitten anybody before, clearly had a problem with his ears. Now, according to the child was not pulling his ears straight out, which is what you say causes him to act out that way. According to this little girl, that didn't happen. But clearly, someone is responsible minimally for the medical bills that these people incurred. Can I see your medical bills? Because as between this lady and you, it was within your home that this happened. So somebody is going to be financially damaged. And I'm not talking about the little mark that's on your daughter's face. That's going to go away, hopefully.
Well,
and
I have a report from a doctor that will scar forever.
Well,
she has 2 scars on her face, one on her cheek, one under her nose.
I just want to know what the bill was so far.
We paid $2,500 cash for the plastic surgeon to do her face.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
And later today.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Micheline Matar's 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills. Maria claims she told Veronica not to touch Pebbles on her ears, but she didn't listen.
Mrs. Matar, I'm going to come to you. You seem like an intelligent lady.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you knew that these people had a dog in their house. And an intelligent person also knows that when little children are around a dog, something can happen. Now, I'm not saying that you are responsible, but you clearly knew that they had a dog, right?
Things can happen anywhere you go.
Thank you.
Right.
That's my point, too. When a dog bites somebody, regardless of where, when, and how, it usually becomes the owners of the dog's responsibility. It's almost a relativity here as to, okay, so by default, you know...
No, Miss Soria, you're missing the point, madam. The point is that you were, A, aware of the fact that your dog had a problem. Right? Did you ever tell that to Mrs. Matar?
No.
Well, you see, that's a responsibility that you have. Because then Mrs. Matar would have been on notice. And she would have known that what you knew about your dog, that your dog had a certain sensitivity. And then I would say, well, she assumed the risk if she let her children go to your house to play. You can't say that I'm telling an 8-year-old and therefore I've completely absolved myself of responsibility. If you told the mother, and after you told the mother, she said, dog looks perfectly fine to me, I'm going to let my children go over there, then she is in at least in part negligent. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't tell her, and that was a mistake. Telling the children is not telling her. Now, they have medical bills now of $2,500. Somebody's got to pay for that. You had the knowledge about your dog. She did not. So you have to pay these medical bills, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
What about the scars? I'm sorry, Your Honor. What about the other charges that I have to do another surgery for her to take out all the scars on her face?
Let me tell you something. Right now, to date, your medical bills are $2,500.
Okay.
Right? If you have additional medical bills, there on notice, they may be responsible. It may be that as your daughter gets older, this little mark that's right over here is going to fade.
I spoke to a specialist, which she
you
told
may
me that it
have
will
spoken
not.
to a specialist, but I'm telling you, as your daughter gets older, she's still a little child. Her face is going to grow, her skin is going to grow, and what looks like a 1/4 of an inch scar now may be nothing more than a dot later on, and you as a responsible parent might not want to put your child through an additional surgical procedure. So right now I'm giving you your medical bills to date, which are $2,500. Now you have to know, Ms. Matar, also, if you allow your children to go next door to a neighbor to play and the neighbor has a dog, a little dog like this that looks perfectly harmless, there is always that risk. I don't think that there was anything malevolent about what the defendant did. I mean, according to what she tells me, the dog has never bitten anybody else. But you have a responsibility to tell the parents, not the children, of people that come into your house, that this dog has now bitten one child. Because the next time, if this happens to somebody else, you are responsible for punitive damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, out of the back door to your right.
You know he has a problem. Lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't
a
ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are. You did not even bother to call to ask how my daughter was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Flubacher versus Fi. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Renata Flubacher says she bailed 19-year-old Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and has not been paid back.
The defendant was a friend of yours, according to your complaint. She had had some trouble with her mate.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Some domestic violence, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You had him arrested?
Yes, I did.
And then you thought better of it.
Yes.
So you called your friend and asked her to bail him out of jail.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I was unsure of it at first. I didn't know the procedures of what the law meant and what exactly. At first, it was just that she needed to borrow the money, and then it ended up she needed a co-signer, which was a lot more because I didn't know the gentleman. And of course, what I knew of him was all negative because what
You
had
mean the
happened.
gentleman that she lives with?
Well, her boyfriend.
Her
yes.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did you spend the first time to bail him out of jail?
I think it was $325 after all the court fines.
And you borrowed that money from her?
Yes.
You promised to pay her back?
Yes, I did.
And you haven't?
No, I haven't had a chance.
How long ago was this?
It was in May, I think.
Now then he got himself arrested again.
Right. He got on probation and then was arrested for the same thing pretty much, from what my understanding is. Not on her, but on somebody else.
He sounds like a real charmer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renata Flubacher says she bailed Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and is suing Courtney to get the money back. Courtney feels it's her boyfriend's debt.
What was he arrested for the second time?
Assault.
On whom?
Some guy. I don't know. Some guy he fought with.
And what happened?
He had called me from jail and was crying and telling me that he respected me, and that one of the main problems with Courtney and I was that he wouldn't let me see Courtney. He said that my friendship with her, that I had bad influences
This is Courtney?
on her. Yes. That I had bad influences on her. I've known her since 6th grade, and he pretty much told Courtney who she could and could not see, and he pretty much was just apologizing and saying that, you know, if I got him out again, that things would be different and that she could see me. Because when I got him out the first time, I pretty much didn't speak to Courtney again. You know, I didn't hear from her. She was at his house. I would call there. He would get upset with her, yell at her, tell her, you need to tell that girl to quit calling here.
You mean this is after
I bailed him out of jail.
After you bailed him out.
So he pretty much just begged me, and then he started saying some things about if his probation officer found out that he had violated his probation, he would go to jail for 6 years. And he was like, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to go to jail for something I don't deserve, and something like that. So I called Courtney, and I was like, you know, Courtney, is this true? And from what she understood, it was all true. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you have another way to get him out? You know, do you need the money? She was like, yeah, I need the money, and I can't live without him, and I need him to be out of jail. And
did you say that to her?
I did say that.
You couldn't live without him?
Well, I did love him very much.
Sounds like a manipulative sucker.
Yeah. Well, at first he wasn't like that, but...
So how much did it cost you the second time?
It was $325 again. And this time with a lot more writing his, because I had to co-sign also again, because neither one of them know anybody who has any type of liability, and it was a lot more money this time if he didn't end up going back to court.
Did he go back to court?
No, he didn't. I ended up having to call bounty hunters on him to pick him up. He was supposed to go to court, and Courtney and him got in a really big fight within a week or something. Something blew up, and he was staying at his other girlfriend's house, and we had to call the cops, and we had to do all this stuff. And the bounty hunters came and picked him up and had to take him to court, and then he got put back in jail.
So how much did the whole exercise cost you?
It was a little over $900.
All right, Courtney, let me hear your defense to this.
Well, I believe that I owe her for bailing him out the first time, but I didn't ask her to bail him out the second time. And he's the one that asked her, so I think that she should be suing him for the rest.
Well, she did, in fact, call you after she got this jailhouse call.
Yes, and I told her if she wanted to do it, that I would like her to do it, but I wasn't asking her to do it.
You said, I'm not asking you to do it, or did you say, I love him and I can't live without him?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not asking you to bail him out. She did say that, too. She's like, well, I'm not asking you, I'm just... She said something like, I'm not asking you because I know you've already done this once, and I know I already owe you money, but I love him so much, and I can't live without him, you know? And I was just like, okay, so do you want me to leave him in jail, or do you want me to get him out of jail? You know, this is up to you. And I told her straight out, I was like, you owe me this money, I can't stand it. I don't like what he does to you, I don't like the way he treats you, I don't like the way he treats me as somebody who's helping him. And
did you say that to her when you spoke to her on the phone?
Yes, I did. And we went together to the Bonds place, and I was like, Courtney, this is a lot of money. I was like, I've worked so hard for all this money. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress and a full-time student. And I've been saving all my life. I was like, this is my savings, and you know, you will pay me back this money.
When did Prince Charming finally leave the picture?
About a month ago.
Under what circumstances?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
And he's going back to jail.
And he's actually wanted again. And I'm trying to help his aunt out because she's going to have to put up $14,000 if he doesn't turn himself in. So I'm helping her.
You mean he got somebody else to put up bail for him?
Oh yeah, his aunt
and he
bailed him
didn't
out.
show up.
And he hasn't showed up, and I'm the only one that he calls, so I'm trying to set him up.
Let me tell you what you should try to do. Change your number.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe the plaintiff when she says she couldn't stand your boyfriend. Sounds to me as if she had good cause. He tried to come between the two of you. He's clearly abusive. He's unreliable. And yet, because of your friendship, she bailed him out of jail. Big mistake. Don't do it again. I'm sure you won't. You know, you're a hardworking gal, and if you have been diligent about saving your money, save it. You know, bailing him out is like taking the money and throwing it down the sewer. But there is no question that I believe that you assured her on both occasions that you would be responsible for this money, because she was not relying on the boyfriend to pay her back. She was relying on you to pay her back. Your lawsuit seeks $800. You have to pay her. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's very violent. He's, I don't know how many times he's hit her and stuff, but he's very verbally abusive. Many times when I've called there, he's calling her names. I was really confused. I've known her pretty much all my life, and I was like, what is she doing with this guy? And then 2 days later, she said that she was still in love with him, and I was confused.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
When she was only 15. Now broken up, she's suing him for money he took when they were lovers.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Judges number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Atkinson versus Cope. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
25.
Did you know how old she was when you started to date her?
Yes.
How old was she?
15.
And you were 23?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very dumb.
It's a lesson well learned.
Because in addition to everything else, it's a felony. Right?
Yes.
Now, Miss Atkinson, this is your mother? Mm-hmm. You're 17 now.
Yes, I am.
So this suit was really filed by you on behalf of your daughter. You say that you loaned him money.
Loaned him $2,000.
For what?
Repairs on his pickup truck. Bills that I paid for him.
Like what?
Gas and power. Very, very, very often, he would take me to the bank to get $20 out so he could get back and forth to work for a night. I have a copy of all my bank receipts for the time that we were dating.
Where did you meet him?
He is an old friend of mine's boyfriend's brother.
Yeah.
And we were just introduced one day. And we were friends for about 5 months. And then it went from there.
Did your mother know that you were dating him?
Yes, she did.
Did you think it was a good idea?
He wasn't like a normal 23-year-old. He was more like a 19-year-old. Seemed, and they were friends first.
That's not unusual. So he's 23 going on 19. And your daughter was 15 going on 16.
Yeah.
So you didn't think it was so terrible.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were intimate?
Not for a long time, no.
So you took some money from her?
The loan was offered to me. What I did borrow from her, yes. Didn't take.
Well, tell me.
It was offered.
Right. And you took it?
It was offered
It was offered several times, and I did take it. Yes, I borrowed, yes.
Why?
Not $2,000.
How much?
$800.
Well, $800 in one lump sum.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about little bits at a time.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All the withdrawals listed on there, there's only, I think, one deposit that I made for my birthday on April 8th. All the rest of the withdrawals were not from me personally using the money, but from him using the money.
You mean using it to go out on a date, maybe?
No, to take it and pay his bills, or to, for instance, I bought him a differential. He needed a differential. I loaned him the $150 as a deposit down on the differential for...
Does that sound familiar?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I've been self-sufficient since I was 18 years old. I paid all my bills. No. And no, she did not pay no gas, power, or electric bill. She loaned me, which was offered, $800, which I paid back. Now, I don't know where she comes up with this, no.
How much did you have in this account when you started dating?
To start out with, $2,200.
And prior to dating him, had you taken any money out of that account?
No, that account was saved up. I've been saving that money since I was 6 years old to go and buy a car when I was 16 or to go to college.
So what you're telling me is there were no withdrawals made from that account?
None. Zero.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Step up here, please, with your daughter. When did you find out that she was helping him out with money?
The first time I found out about it was his ex-girlfriend left a message on our answering machine telling Kelly that she would never get her $2,000 back, and a few other things she left on. And that was the first time I realized, uh-oh, she's really done it. She's given him some money. And I was afraid she wasn't going to get it back.
And when Mom confronted me, I did lie to her because I was trying to protect him.
When did you break up with him?
When? At the end of August.
Why?
He put his boot through the window of my parents' truck, kicked me in the face with it.
Why?
Lots of fights. We were in the middle of another fight, and it ended up in a domestic dispute.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
In addition to the $2,000 that you say you took out of your account and gave to him, you're suing for $5,000 and the other for medical bills. For what?
During the time that we were together, I contracted a venereal disease, a virus called HPV. There's a letter from my doctor and bills, my medical bills for the last year.
Did you have sexual relations with anyone other than him during this period of time?
No.
What are you laughing about? Why is that a funny question?
No, just like that, no, no.
Well, if you have some information that she had sexual relations with somebody else, I'll hear you, sir.
She had a sexual relationship with a very close friend of mine.
When?
When? During the time that we were dating. Okay? The money that she loaned me, the $800, okay, yes, I did pay back. This was a doorway to open the account, and once the money had started being removed, the $800 that was loaned to me, then she went ahead and removed more money. Okay, whenever I caught up to this, and I confronted her about this, you know, spending money to go here, go there, I said, Kelly, you can't do that. That's not right.
Show me proof that you paid back the $800.
Show me proof that I borrowed $2,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you fool around with jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir.
And later today...
You're not a man. You're a little weasel.
Because
your whole family.
Just go. Put him away for 20 years. So.
Just you know what? You're all going to jail.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, for money he took when they were dating. She also claims Daniel gave her a sexually transmitted disease and wants him to pay for her medical bills.
Now, you answered one question that I posed to you, sir, with a different answer. I asked you how you knew that she was having sexual relations with somebody else at the same time she was having sexual relations with you. And you are telling me about $800.
How do I know?
Yes.
Because I drove over to my buddy's house. That's where she'd spent the night instead of over at my house like she told her mother.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I caught them.
You caught them what?
I caught them in the house. Half dressed.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it does not.
Well, would you tell me what he's talking about if you
I
know?
have no idea.
Well, tell me about it, sir.
What do you want to know about it?
She was supposed to be spending the night with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And?
She wasn't there?
She was not there.
So you went looking for her?
I went looking for her, yes.
Well, I'm making this very easy for you.
Well, thank you.
Good. How much are your medical bills?
So far, out of pocket is $895. And I'm going to need many more.
Well, you know, you're partially responsible, madam. So's your mother. In my judgment. You said it. He was 23, going on 19. Probably more like 15. So, he's no genius. Your daughter is 15, going on 16, and clearly she's no genius. You're supposed to be smart enough to put your foot down and say, I don't want you to see this guy because he's too old for you, and I don't think it's appropriate at your age. At age 15, to be dating somebody who's 23 is not appropriate. Maybe when you're 30 and he's 38, it's a different story. But right now, it's not appropriate. That's your job as a mother.
Okay, now whenever Mom did find out about his age and how much we were hanging out together, I was lying to her, again, to try to protect him.
Your mother still says she knew very well that you were dating him and that she gave her tacit approval because she felt that he was immature enough to be almost a contemporary of yours.
And I trusted
Which is
them.
a kind way of saying it.
Very kind.
Very kind. So you bear part of this responsibility. You know. Have you had yourself tested, sir?
I had myself tested, yes.
Good. Do you have the results of the test?
I have what they mail me is a card that says you're okay, fine, that you don't need to call us, you don't need to contact us, that you don't need to come in.
Let me see.
Okay, this does not say nothing, but it's a mailer, all right?
Well, it doesn't say anything. What are you giving it to me for?
That's the only thing that I do have. Okay, if otherwise I'd have been notified, say, you know, I'd have gotten a phone call saying, come in, we need to discuss this.
What made you go here for blood tests, sir?
Because I started a new relationship and I wanted to get tested. I wanted to make sure that, you know, before I have an intimate relationship with anybody, that I do not have a problem.
Well, this is interesting because this was just done in October.
Yes, ma'am,
You
I
stopped
have a new
seeing-
relationship.
I heard that already. You sound like a broken record.
Well,
But you stopped seeing her in August, right?
A year ago.
A year
ago.
Right.
Right, so this doesn't tell me anything because I don't know whether you were tested a year ago and were treated during the course of that year for anything. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She'd been having sex for long before I come around.
And later today,
You're a lying
Your dad's
scumbag.
gonna
Your
bail
whole
you out
family is that way.
again.
Your dad's constantly bails you out. Your whole family is that way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, claiming he gave her a sexually transmitted disease. Daniel says he knows nothing about it.
Mr. Cope, nobody is blameless in this situation. Unfortunately, you are the legal adult and she is the legal minor. And when you fool around with what we used to call, when I was a child, jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir. You took out this money. This was your money supposedly for a car,
For
correct?
a car or college, whichever I decided that was more
Whatever.
important at the time.
And so far you have medical bills in the amount of $895. I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,895. I'm saying the following to you. You started off your life wrong. You're supposed to be smarter. You're 17 years old. Your mother is supposed to be smarter. Your mother is supposed to be protective. And as far as I'm concerned, this 15-year-old shouldn't have unfettered control over a substantial bank account. It's her money, but she's still a kid.
Right.
Fortunately, what was coming out wasn't money to buy drugs or other things, but it could have been. So you gotta be very, very careful and very vigilant as a parent these days. I assume your new girlfriend is over the age of 18.
Yes.
Great. That's all.
All right, are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right, please.
And I thought maybe they'd be good for each other. Maybe she'd help him grow up a little bit, and he'd help her grow up a little bit.
And now the next case.
Party's on Lewis versus Lewis. Step forward, please.
Secretary Royce Lewis is suing her 19-year-old stepson, Daniel Lewis, for money she loaned him to buy a stereo when he was 16.
Okay, so that we understand who the cast of characters are in this case, this is your stepson.
Yes.
This is your biological son.
Yes.
Are you still married to his father?
Separated.
Married but separated.
Right.
Well, a couple of years ago, while you were probably all living together, correct?
Yes.
According to this, you made a loan to these two boys.
Yes.
To go out and buy some stereo equipment. At that time, he was 16.
Yes.
And it was your agreement that when he turned 18, he would pay you back.
Yes.
Turned 18?
Yeah.
What happened?
He never paid me back. The agreement was that when he turned 18, and I didn't ask for interest or anything, and before I gave them both the money, which was cash, I said, this is with the understanding that when you each turn 18 and get your money from your trust account, that you will pay me back the money that I've loaned you. And they both said yes. I said, then go get stereos for your car.
So you got a stereo for your car.
Yes, I did.
And you got one for your car.
Correct.
When did you separate from his father?
About 2.5, maybe 3 months ago.
And it was after that that you filed this lawsuit?
Right. I told him I was going to the time we were together, and he said I couldn't because he's a pastor of a church and it's his son, and I wasn't allowed to. I said he owes me the money and he's not paying it, and you're not doing anything to get it.
Well, but the marriage was already on.
Right.
Going.
No, actually, no, it wasn't.
Well,
but
then I'm going to tell you something. If you threaten to sue your husband's son, that's a good time for marriage to start to go south.
Well, I didn't threaten immediately. I said, somehow something has to happen here. It's not right that he's getting away with all this.
Okay.
Okay. Our agreement, basically there was no agreement. She came up to, I did not ask for the money. I did not ask for anything from her. Me and James were both outside one day. She came right in front of our door. She walked down the stairs and was asking us if we had car stereos and how they worked and all this stuff. And she says, well, do you guys want to go down and get new CD players? And of course, I'm 16 years old. You know, I would love to have a new CD player for my car. So she gave us a blank check, said she told us how much we could spend. Me and James went down, got the same exact CD player. I came home, installed it in my car. Later that night, sitting in my room, she walked through the door and then told me that when I was 18, I could pay her back because I was getting my settlement. Okay?
So what did you say to her at that point?
Actually, I never said anything. I never actually said, okay, yes, I will do this, yes, I won't. But the thing is also, even if I had agreed to that, I moved up to Sacramento shortly before I turned 18. When I turned 18, I never heard nothing. To this very day, she has never verbally asked me for that money.
That is a total lie. His dad has talked to him.
Not since.
Not talking about his dad. He said to you.
My dad left her 2 months ago, and that is when this is happening. And she's suing 4 of my dad's friends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have fun in jail because that's where you're going.
Miss Lewis, a minor cannot make a contract. When he was 16 years old, he could not have entered into a contract, either oral or written, with you for anything. And there are times when, if you enter into an agreement when you're a minor, and if you ratify it later when you turn 18 or 21, depending upon the jurisdiction, then it can become enforceable. But he did not do that. He did not ratify it when he became 18. You cannot make a contract with a minor who is 16 and expect it to be enforced in a court. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's back.
You got my case next, buddy. Yeah, I've already reported you to Wells Fargo.
I really
Bank
don't
for the
care.
check you forged.
I really don't care.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You wouldn't have even had that money if it wasn't for me.
I got
said
it
you will
because
pay.
your son can't drive and got in a car accident.
Shut up, you.
Why can't you be a man and pay the money
you
back?
You lied to your dad.
Because you can't hold a job.
Yes, you lied to your dad. You said you didn't get the money out of the trust account. I called the bank. You got it.
Yeah,
then
I
you
did
lied
get it.
and said,
The only thing was I got
lied.
it 3 months after I turned 18 because I couldn't. But what does
because
that
you
matter?
were too stupid to figure out how to
does
get
that
it on your
matter?
own. I know you can't do contracts with minors. I'm not stupid.
Down, please.
31-year-old exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez is suing her former friend and roommate, 26-year-old Sean Henry, for unpaid loans, rent, and a stolen VCR.
Order. All rise. Judge's case number 347 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, each of you claim that the other owes you money, just about the same amount of money, $2,600 change. Ms. Sanchez, you claim that this gentleman was living with you. He left owing you money for a variety of things, which you'll tell me about. You say you made a loan to her for lawyer, $1,500 for something. You'll tell me about that. So why don't you start from the beginning? How come the two of you were living together?
Sean said he had no place to go. And when we first moved together, he was getting kicked out of his apartment. I was leaving my apartment.
Had you been friends?
Yeah, we had been friends. We had met at work. And at the time, we were staying in a hotel, and it was like you pay every week. Then we found an apartment through one of his friends at work. He got the apartment in his name, okay? And then later I had got it put in my name. I have a rental agreement. And I was giving Sean the money because he knew the landlord. I had no idea, and I work at night. And so I would give Sean money every week to pay rent. Sean didn't pay rent. I have an agreement that we both signed saying that we're both 4 months in the hole in rent. And I'm like, you know, how in the world can this be? I give you money every week, you know?
What you're telling me is you gave him your share of the rent.
Every
How
week.
much was the rent?
$250.
$250 a month?
Each.
Yes, each. It's $500 a month.
Okay. So you gave him your $250?
Yes.
And he never paid the rent?
No. I have a piece of paper saying right here that we're both, and he signed it. We both signed it, saying that we're 4 months in the rent, 4 months behind in the rent to this day.
Didn't I pay her 70?
I don't know. Do you have a receipt?
Shh, don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Okay. You both signed that you're both responsible for half the rent. Did you pay the rent, sir?
When I moved out, I paid $750.
I'm talking about while you were living there with her.
We lived together for a whole year and a half.
How long were you living in the apartment together?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And did you pay the rent?
Yes.
All that time?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Ms. Sanchez,
Yes, ma'am.
you have rent receipts?
She had them all.
Did you ultimately pay all the rent?
Not yet. I am still in the hole because of Sean.
Well, how did that come about, that you're in the hole?
Okay, Sean was unemployed. First, Sean moved out, okay, because me and Sean and my boyfriend were living together, right? And everything was fine, but we still owed her $2,000.
The three of you were living in the apartment?
Yes.
And the rent was $500?
Yes.
So
But my boyfriend didn't really live there. He wasn't responsible for any of the rent. That was my responsibility. He didn't hardly have any clothes there, okay? He was just,
You just told me
there.
the three of you were living
in
there.
a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
He had his own room. I had my own room. He had his company. I had my company. So my boyfriend didn't really live there. He had all his clothes someplace else. My boyfriend did. Sean was fired from his job. came crying to me that he didn't have any place to go. Okay, no place to go. He couldn't go live with his brother. They're having problems. He can go live with his father. They're having problems.
So what you're saying to me, madam...
So I let him move back in. I let him move back in on the agreement that he helped me with households.
In May of 1997, sir, you signed an agreement that you owed her a total of, well, this would be $1,000, right? Because it says that total owing was $2,000. And Henry and Sanchez are responsible for 50% of the total, and you signed this, correct? So you acknowledged in May that you owed her $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pay her?
I paid the landlord $750.
No. I'm not saying what you paid the landlord. I'm saying what you paid her.
Why would I owe her?
Because I gave you the money every day to pay the rent, and you didn't, stupid.
Now, you want me to dismiss your lawsuit?
No.
This is $2,000. Each of you owe half of that. So that's $1,000. Did you pay it or did you not pay it?
I paid $750. I guess I still owe the landlord $250.
When did you pay the landlord $750?
July?
When did you move out?
July.
No.
Shh. Show me the receipt.
I don't have that.
That makes this easy. So that's $1,000. What else does he owe you for?
He bought, through his work, I got a VCR because he could get it cheaper from Dow Stereo.
How much did you pay for it?
$160.
Okay.
That's all the money that I gave him for the VCR.
How much did you pay for the VCR?
Got a receipt right here.
Okay.
$213.
$213, and you gave him $160. Where's the receipt?
I didn't ask Sean for receipts.
Okay, did she give you $160 for the VCR?
Every day I get...
You wanted a video camera.
Listen to me.
But you didn't.
You each want money from each other. It would be very foolish. So you say you bought it for $160, and you're going to show me a receipt for $213. And you claim that when he moved out, why did he move out?
Because he wouldn't do his chores, nor did he pay rent. The first month that he moved back in after he was unemployed, he went to Las Vegas, okay? That was on Memorial Day. Didn't tell me anything. And then he comes home, oh, I'm broke, I went to Las Vegas. Like, what the hell you go to Las Vegas for? Oh, so I could see if I can win some more money. And I'm like, you've got to be stupid. And every day, that month that he was there and he was unemployed, I gave him money, because every day I had to go to work.
Are you finished?
Yes.
What's the address of this apartment where you live together?
802. Apartment A. He didn't help me with the chores. He didn't help me take care of the
I don't care. I'm not your therapist, madam. This is a court.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
And later today...
She was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent. Sean says she kicked him out.
So what happened with the VCR that you said was yours?
He took it from me. I went to sleep. He went in my room and took it out of my room.
Okay. Now, what's your story?
I let her use it. I never said she can have it. I bought it.
Utter crap.
Shh.
I said you could use it.
Now, you also say that you made some loans to him. You want to tell me about that?
The month that he moved in, since he was unemployed, he would ask me for money every day.
I'm not talking, Miss, listen to me. I'm not talking about the $5 and the $10 that you say you gave him because he was unemployed. Did you lend him any large sums of money for which he promised to make payment?
Not all at one time. Every day, can I borrow some money? Can I borrow some money?
Did you keep a record of that?
He was my best friend.
Did you keep a record? The answer is no. So you're just guessing about how much money you lent him?
No, I'm not. I knew how much money I had saved in my drawer before he had moved in.
So how much money did you give him?
$350.
I don't believe that you can.
I did. Every day I gave him $20 or $30 every day because he needed it.
So
he
you-
needed
did
it
you
for
write
gas.
down-
He was supposed to go look for a
Did
job.
you write-
I bought him news.
You're not listening to me, Miss Sanchez. I said, did you write down these numbers?
I didn't think I had to.
Well, then that's a problem.
He's supposed to be my best friend.
Oh,
He was supposed to be my little brother.
You're countersuing her for a lot of money too. Let me hear it.
Well, one time
Not well. Look at me.
she got arrested coming back across the border, and she needed a lawyer. So she called me crying, I need a lawyer. So I paid $1,500 for a retainer to try and help her out.
When was this?
June 26, 96.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
You just took out a piece of paper. What is that?
This is the piece of paper that was the only thing that I gotten from that lawyer. I saw that lawyer once. I knew it wouldn't do me any good. I cussed Sean out on the phone about what do I need a lawyer for? Lawyer wasn't going to do me any good.
Just a second. You went to see a lawyer.
No, I didn't. The lawyer came to jail. And I'm like,
Lawyer came to jail. Lawyers don't do anything for free.
I didn't ask him for the lawyer. I never asked him for the lawyer. And if I did ask for a lawyer, it wouldn't be from him. It would have been from Rudy, my boyfriend.
Listen to me. Where were you when you paid this lawyer? Were you in
I was
California?
Yeah.
Does he have a receipt?
I have a feeling you two people deserve each other because you are, Miss Sanchez, irritating me. And I'm just about ready to show you the door. Do you understand?
Yes.
With nothing. Not your $1,100, with nothing, if you do it again. You got it? I want you to show me any documentation, sir, that you have with regard to this lawyer.
Right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, this clearly is a letter from an attorney indicating that he accepted a non-refundable retainer in the amount of $1,500 from the defendant on your behalf on the 26th of June, 1996.
That's his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's father. Why wouldn't he write him that piece of paper?
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying? Are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
No,
Maybe I'll call him. You want me to call him?
Can you look at this for me
Sure.
for a minute?
I asked you a question. Do you think I have to call him?
No.
Right.
But he was never my attorney. I did not ask Sean to get me a lawyer.
How did you find out she had been arrested?
She called me from jail.
I believe that, Miss Sanchez.
I did not ask him.
How would he know that you're in jail unless you called him?
I did call him from jail.
And what did you call
We
him for?
lived
To say,
together.
how are you?
No, we lived together.
This happened a long time ago,
Uh-huh.
correct? Did you ever sue her for this money?
No.
Why?
So I cared about her.
Good.
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
When the lawyer
People deserve
thing
each
came
other.
about,
You're lying, Miss Sanchez. Don't lie to me. I don't like when you lie to me.
I did not. I'm not lying.
Sure you are. Now, was there ever an agreement that you had with her that she would repay this lawyer's fee to you?
Well, we had an agreement.
Mr. Henry, you don't want to go down that road, sir. I guess you do. You want to tell me about this agreement? Tell me what words we used, Mr.
Well,
Henry.
she said, get me out of here. Whatever it costs.
And you said?
I'll try the best I can. I borrowed the money from my brother.
No, don't tell me how you borrowed the money. She said, get me out of here. Right?
Yes.
And you did?
Mm-hmm. Well, I tried.
Okay. No, an agreement to pay it back means get me out of here, whatever it costs, and I will pay you back. That's a contract. That's an oral contract. But you didn't have that with her.
No.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. So, that's honest.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You never paid rent. You didn't clean up the house. You didn't clean up your stuff. I just sit up there and pick up after you. Bought food and everything.
And later today,
She begged me for sex, Your Honor. Literally.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent, loans, and a stolen VCR.
A, I can't figure out who owns the VCR. I have a bill here for $213. So
She's also
I can't,
caused damage to my truck.
Shh. So I can't make a determination with regard to the VCR. I can only make a determination with regard to the contract that you both entered into, indicating that you are indebted to her for the amount of $1,000. Now, you want to tell me about this truck?
Yeah, she's damaged it.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, one time at work, she said she locked the keys in, so she had to break the back window, and I had to pay for that.
I paid him back.
Shh.
And when we were in a fight, I wouldn't let her drive it. She didn't have a license or insurance on it.
So what did she do to the truck?
She kicked it. Put a nice dent on the driver's side door.
Let me see.
And I got estimates of the damage right here.
Looks like there's lots of damage on this truck. Lots of scratches on this truck.
From his DUIs.
Okay, how about your boyfriend kicking it?
Oh, wonderful. You ready? Dismissed! Dismissed! Goodbye.
Parties are excused. Step out.
I don't understand why it was dismissed. Because I talked? He was supposed to be my best friend. Okay, he dogged me just because I won't be his stupid girlfriend. Sorry. Now it's dismissed because you're stupid. Never see my fucking money again. Make me sick.
And now the next case.
Parties on Maris versus Swan. Step forward.
32-year-old research scientist Ann Maris is suing her former friend, physical education instructor William Swan, for unpaid credit card bills.
Why do women give men credit cards?
I think it has something to do with the word convinced. Mr. Swan looked me straight in the eye and told me he loved me, wanted to marry me, that I thought he had morals.
Mr. Swan, go ahead.
I thought he had morals.
How did you meet him?
I met him in the produce section of an Asian store, Asian market.
And how long did you know him before you put his name on your credit card?
5 months.
And had you dated during that 5 months?
Beginning about 2 or 3 months prior to that, we started seeing each other on a more regular basis and talking pretty much every day on the phone, at least once.
So he needed some credit, and you said you'd give him credit on your card.
He said one morning, I talked to him from work, and he said he desperately needed a refrigerator, that he was getting skinny, and that his brother wouldn't loan him the money, and that it would be about $500. And I told him I didn't have the money, and I thought we could find one a lot cheaper than that, as I had paid $100 for mine, and that I would be willing to let him put it on a credit card that had no other money on it, so we could be clear. And he had told me he was going to pay it out of his tax return, and he didn't know why his brother wouldn't loan him the money.
Okay. To make a long story short, because Mr. Swan is going to tell me what his defense is, he ran up bills on the credit card totaling $1,500.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he does not dispute that.
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
But this is your defense, that you had an agreement with her. And your agreement was that as long as you maintained the payments on the credit card, that she would keep it open.
Absolutely.
But that there came a point when you took out a significant amount of money. How much, $1,100?
Yeah.
And that after you took out that amount of money, she closed the credit card down.
Yes.
So your defense is that she breached the agreement
Yes.
by canceling the credit card, and therefore you do not owe her this money. That's what your defense is.
Something to that effect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, why don't you tell me what I got wrong?
Well,
Why don't you?
not that I don't necessarily owe, but the fact that she breached our contract with reference to me keeping the payments paid that I shouldn't have to pay, because she cut it off basically out of spite because I wouldn't have sex with her.
That's not true, of course.
She begged me for sex, Your Honor.
What is that?
Literally.
Mr.
And
Swan.
I just, you know.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
What does this have to do about owing?
She thought so.
Order.
Well, sometimes love is blind. Mr. Swan, you're not serious with me, are you? You're not trying to tell this to me with a straight face that you don't owe the money that you took out on her credit card because she breached the agreement when she cut off your credit.
I never said I didn't know it.
You sure you said, as far as I'm concerned, she broke the agreement and I have no intention of giving her a dime.
That's what I said. But
That's what you said right here in your answer.
Yeah, but I didn't say I
Good.
didn't know
You owe her $1,500, judgment for the plaintiff. That's right.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
And she was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes. I hope to see him in jail.
Hope springs eternal.
Step forward, please.
52-year-old engineer Glenn Burge is suing his soon-to-be ex-wife Michelle, claiming she threw away precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Burge versus Burge. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Burge, you claim that your soon-to-be ex-wife, who was the defendant in this case, destroyed or threw away some irreplaceable memorabilia of yours after you were out of the house. You place a dollar value on that memorabilia at $5,000. She says that you were an abusive drunk who hit her, left the house, disappeared for months. She had no idea where you were, and ultimately got fed up with storing this stuff and just got rid of it. Correct?
That is correct.
So, how long were you married to each other, actually living together?
On and off for close to 3 years, give or take. We were only married right at 4 months, though, when I left.
And I gather you were living with the defendant's father.
That is correct.
All right, sir, tell me about your departure from the house.
The evening that I left, I was quite intoxicated, if you'll bear with me. This is the first time I've seen Michelle since the evening that I've left, and I still haven't really gotten over her, but the night that I left, I did become intoxicated. I went back to her father's mobile home, whereas we had another argument, and I was intoxicated enough that I don't recall whether or not she hit me and knocked me down or she shoved me and knocked me down. At that time, I got up, I slapped her, and I left, and I never went back. That was my understanding with her. I had told her if I ever raised my hand to her, that I would leave. And that was the only time, Your Honor, that I had ever raised my hand to her.
So you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long were you gone before you made a request for this property that you say you left behind?
It was about 2 months.
And how did you make that request for the property?
By telephone originally?
Talking directly to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what property did you leave behind, sir?
I left my clothing, camping equipment, fishing equipment, some tools, an awful lot of books, memorabilia, my son's photographs from when he was a child. And I requested if I paid UPS prepaid, would she box these items up and send them to me? And at that time, I never really got a response from her.
Well, did she tell you that she had already disposed of all the stuff?
Not at that particular time, no.
Where were you for those 2 months, sir?
I was working, living in a little town called Antioch. I was living with my sister, and I was working, pumping gas.
Why didn't you call the very next week and make arrangements to pick up your stuff?
The emotional situation is that I had been fairly mentally abused by her on a number of occasions. As a matter of fact, there were times that I spent as many days in my van living there. This is my secure area. After an argument, you have to excuse me.
Do you have a drinking problem, Mr. Burge?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Has it been a long-standing problem with alcohol?
Yes, ma'am. Although this was one of the reasons I believe that Michelle had asked me to move in with her father. He also has a drinking problem, and he needed a drinking buddy.
Were you drinking all during the 3-year relationship with Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Michelle.
Yes.
Why don't you first tell me your version of what happened on the night that your husband left?
He was supposed to meet me that evening, and we were going, my son and him and I were going to go to MGM Adventure Park. He never came home. He never showed or called. And so when I returned from the park, because I went ahead and went, I found him at a casino in town, saw his van parked in the garage, and I went in and we looked for him, my son and I both. He wasn't there. So we went on home, and there he sat on the ground, very intoxicated, and laughing. And I said, thanks a lot for showing up for us. And I did push him on the shoulder, and he fell back. But I proceeded to walk down the hall and out, and he came after me, and he hit me with a fist, closed fist, like a man would hit a man. And it spun my head around. And I couldn't close my jaw for 7 days thereafter. At that point, we called the police. I was yelling, Dad, he's hitting me. Help me. He came out of the bedroom, and the police were called. At this point, Glenn tried to take my car and leave because his van was obviously still parked at the casino. And I pulled him out of the car, and I recovered my car. At that point, he walked down the street, got a neighbor to take him back to his van at the casino, and I never saw him again or heard from him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I even went into rehab for 3 days.
But didn't work.
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
And later today,
I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And every time I do something for you, this is the way I get it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 52-year-old engineer Glenn Burge is suing his soon-to-be ex-wife Michelle, claiming she threw away precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
What had you done with all of his belongings?
Put him in an unlocked shed outside of our mobile home, which meant he had access at any time, day or night.
Ultimately, what did you do with them?
We left him there for which I have receipts from the Salvation Army until March 6th of '97.
And then they came and took all the stuff?
Yes.
What about his pictures and that sort of stuff?
They took it all. It was thrown in garbage bags and boxes and kind of...
And it had been 3 months that you hadn't heard from him, according to you?
Not at all. I contacted his aunts and uncles, which I had his address book, so I went through it and found some. Took a chance that he might be, and he was. He had been there. And so they kind of directed me to an address and a phone number.
So who called him? Did you call him?
Yes.
And what did you say when you called him?
I didn't reach him. I reached the relatives. Yes, Glenn was here. He stayed a few days and left.
So you never really reached him?
No, but he got the message, so he called back.
And when he called you, you still had the property?
Yes, we did.
So what was the conversation?
It was, hi, how are you doing? I can't live in Las Vegas anymore. The drinking's too available, and I would like you to come live here with me. And I don't really remember if the property really was mentioned at that time.
But then there came a time when you did call Salvation Army.
Yes.
Now, how much time passed between this first conversation that you had with him and the time that you actually disposed of the property?
Approximately 1 month later.
And why did you dispose of it at that time?
Because I received a letter from Glenn saying that he would be there on a Saturday and pick up his things. And I agreed, fine, we'll meet you here Saturday, and he never showed.
Do you have that letter?
No, that was no, I don't.
Do you remember writing a letter to her?
No, ma'am, there was never a letter written.
My father remembers this, Your Honor.
Oh, I believe you.
Okay.
I believe that maybe you don't remember, sir. Mrs. Burge, I gather from your husband that you knew that he had a drinking problem at the time that you married him, because you were together for 3 years before you married him.
Yes, I did.
Why would you
I
do
didn't
that?
know it was to that extent at that point.
But you knew he had a drinking problem.
Yes, and he had said he was going to work on that, and I had hoped he would.
You know, I get the sense from looking at both of you and from listening to you, sir, that you still have some very strong feelings for her.
Yes, I do. I did since the first day that I ever met the lady.
And I also have a sense that but for his drinking problem, you feel strongly about him.
We did. We had a very, very close relationship, and it was good when. It was good when it was.
It was good when it was good. Mr. Burge, what have you done, if anything, to deal with this problem that you have?
I haven't had a drink, Your Honor, in almost 3 months. During the course, if I may add, during the course of our relationship, towards the ending of it, I even went into rehab for 3 days.
But it didn't work.
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
You have to understand, Miss Burge, the nature of the illness. You know, you can't treat it as if it's a thing that you can turn on and turn off. Sometimes you don't understand that. You believe that he hasn't had a drink? Looks pretty straight to me.
It's possible.
If he did enter a period of sobriety in his life, would you be interested in trying to save your marriage?
I'm not certain, because he did hit me, and it wasn't the first time. He had tried to hit me before, but he
Well, that was
wasn't
only when he was
successful.
drunk?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, nobody should live in an abusive kind of relationship.
No. Yeah.
But he did leave.
Yes, he did.
No, because I think he felt terrible that he did that.
And the police were on the way.
He probably was too drunk to even understand that.
Think so?
Mr. Burge, your lawsuit is a relatively simple one, sir. She doesn't have to store your property. She hadn't heard from you for many months. I do believe that you did make arrangements to go and pick up the property, and that you didn't show up, and she got fed up and ultimately said, just get the stuff and any recollection of this man out of my life, because I don't want to deal with him anymore.
If I may, I also have phone records stating, or actually physically showing, that I have been in contact with her since December, January, February. And
She says that. She says that you had
right.
him.
And in February, I'd also sent her a dozen long stem roses to her job. I was trying to keep this relationship going as long as I could possibly because of the feelings.
Then you wouldn't want to be punitive, Mr. Burge.
Right.
And you did, in fact, hit her, and I believe that you hit her. Whether you realized it at the time or not, it was more than a slap. So you're going to have to live with the fact that because you have a drinking problem, you did certain things that were really the antithesis of good behavior for any human being to another.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee.
And later today,
You using me is over with. It's over with.
Okay, no problem.
That's it, Susie. That's it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Glenn Burge wants his estranged wife, Michelle, to pay for the loss of photos and memorabilia of his son. Michelle says she held on to his belongings for 6 months.
I don't think she's a bad person, sir.
She's not.
Okay. So then we really shouldn't be here today, other than perhaps for you to see her, because you said it's the first time that you've seen her since you left.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Pardon me, sir. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee or breakfast and just talk. Is that a possibility?
If she's willing.
You willing?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, you see about it, Miss Burge. If your husband, who I clearly believe you have some feelings for, still. No or yes?
No, I would say no.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Just too much has happened.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Mr. Burge, you may have to try a little harder, sir. She's vacillating a little bit. So you may have to try. Maybe 3 months isn't enough. In any event, I'm not entertaining a claim for $5,000, sir. I am dismissing your lawsuit. That's all.
Okay. Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Bishop versus Baum. Step forward, please.
35-year-old Lori Bishop is suing her former girlfriend, Ingeborg Baum, for the cost of a parking ticket. Ingeborg says it's not her fault she got the ticket and refuses to pay for it.
This was your friend. She asked you to do her a favor and drive her downtown because your daughter was in jail?
Yeah.
And you didn't have a car?
No.
So you did her a favor, drove her downtown, parked your car where you shouldn't have.
Well, not really where I shouldn't have. We parked the car, we stayed there, we tried to find out where Renati was going to be. And
Renati is your daughter?
Yes. Find out how long it was going to be before she got released. Well, we'd been there probably about 3 hours, and we got back to the car, and Susie says, "What is that on your windshield?" And I says, "It can't be a ticket because I can park here. I parked here before. I know we can park here." So we went and got something to eat. We came back, and we parked across in this little complex. And it said, "No parking, towaway zone." I'm like, I don't feel good about this. So all we had, when we started our trip out, I told her that I'd pay for the gas. I mean, she has to pay for the gas, but I'd give her the ride. So we got to the gas station, and her ATM card wouldn't work. So I put $20 in my car, and then I got $20 for us to eat because we weren't sure how long it was going to be for us, before we got back.
You parked your car where you shouldn't have parked your car, Miss Bishop.
Right. Well, I did. Well, it was
sure.
the sign said parking this way, no parking this way, right there.
What is that? Just a second. What does that have to do with her?
Well, I wouldn't have been there if it wouldn't have been for her.
That's what she keeps saying, and I told her.
I wouldn't have been there. I did her a favor. I've done a lot for this lady.
Miss Bishop,
a lot.
Listen to me. Your argument is that but for the fact that you were doing her a favor, you wouldn't have had your car down in that location and you wouldn't have gotten a ticket.
Right.
And therefore, she is responsible for the ticket.
Right.
Let's say you were driving with her to pick up her daughter, and you were speeding.
Right.
And you got a speed. Just a second. And you got a speeding ticket. Who would be responsible for that?
No, it wouldn't be.
Shh. Who would be responsible?
I would be.
Because you did the wrong thing.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you try to explain to me how it's different parking where you weren't supposed to be parking. And speeding.
Well, because she didn't have the money to pay where we could park, where it wasn't going to cost us any money. I mean, where it wasn't going to cause me any harm. She didn't have the money. She didn't have any money when we went.
But then when you parked there under the tunnel, I asked you, can you park here?
Right, and I could because I did before.
So I asked
just a second. So you said you've parked there before and you didn't get a ticket.
Right.
This time you did.
Right.
Pay it.
Okay. Well, what about the money that I took $40 to eat on for the parking, to finally pay the $5 for the parking and stuff. What about that?
Just a second.
I mean, when I called up her one day,
I think she's responsible for those out-of-pocket expenses. The gas, right?
Yeah.
You've paid $5 to park the car after you moved the car when you got a ticket. Were you with her when she moved the car?
Yes.
And she paid $5 for that?
Yes.
You think you're responsible for that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with you. That's $25. And if you think that you were wrongfully given a ticket,
right,
then you have to go argue that to the Parking Violations Bureau. You go before a hearing examiner and tell them your story. But you parked your car in the wrong place. You got a ticket.
Right.
You have to pay for it.
Well, okay.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $25.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
That's not right, Susie. That's not right. Okay? I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And every time I do something for you, this is the way I get it. I mean, what about the $100? I had to get it from her.
Gas, I do.
Yeah, pay for the gas. What about everything else, Susie? So I'm just stuck with the ticket. Well, I have nothing to say to you after this point. Even though I was a friend enough and took my whole day away to take you down there, you can't help me out by paying half the ticket? Yeah, walk off, Susie. Just walk off.
Hey.